Okay, hello. Hello, everybody. We're live a little early. Let me actually tell people I'm live right now. Hold on. I don't know if anyone knows I'm live because I'm super early. I didn't expect to go live this early, but oh my goodness. We got news, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a day. And we have some breaking reporting from the most competent administration in the history of administrations, which accidentally uh, basically just texted war plans to a random journalist. Yay! We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna get into it. Let me make sure everyone knows where I am. And that I'm live early. Hold on. But our emails. Well, this is way worse, but we will get into it. We will get into it. A moment, please. A moment, please. Yeah, I know. You can't see my screen because it's black as our hearts. I'm setting up. This is all kind of last minute. I didn't expect to be going live this early. But as I said, I have to cover this. We're still having our panel tonight. Still going to be on the subject of the Biden pardons, Autopen, etc. We're still going to have Pisco. We're still going to have Nino. We're going to still have Gibbs and Pentuple. That's going to be great. It's going to be at 6 p.m. Eastern. So if you're you want to talk about that, it's still happening. We're still doing it, right? I made that plan in advance, and I'm not going to cancel it. But one of the great things about this being like a job, and I could just go live whenever, I can go live early and talk about it, and I want to. Let's read. Let's just get straight into it. Okay. This little news article popped up on my feed earlier today, and I couldn't believe it at first. I read the title, right? And I was like, no. What is this? This seems silly. I thought at first it had something to do with like the Musk thing, right? Because there were some reports that they were going to let Elon Musk sit in on war planning about China or something. But that was very loosey goosey. Wasn't much to it. I figured something like that. It's gonna be something like that. No, 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 ladies and gentlemen. This was far, far worse. And we're going to get into it. We're going to read it. So, this is by Jeffrey Goldberg. And that last name's important, right? And we'll get to why this all happened and some of the speculation, right, of the reporter on why this happened in a little bit. But just the TLDR for those of you who are just getting here. And I know you guys are all straggling in, coming in. I know. Thank you for the likes. Fable, nice to see you. Hector Reviews, also nice to see you. Welcome to the show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to get into it. We're going to read the article. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the reactions to it. We're going to talk about how we're going to watch some of Trump's reaction to it. And it's going to be fun. But man, oh man. So we'll get into it. But yeah, the TLDR on this, gang, is that Hegseth, J.D. Vance, and several others in the administration had a Signal group chat. So Signal, for those of you who are unaware, it's like a WhatsApp. It's like a Telegram. It's a messaging service. It's an international messaging service. Supposed to be encrypted, etc. It's not and importantly, it's not a government service, right? It's a private service. It's not connected to the government. Again, important for later. But they had a group chat, which is fine in and of itself. There's nothing particularly wrong with the administration talking in a group chat. It is what it is. What was interesting about this group chat are two things. One, they accidentally added this reporter who was there for an unspecified amount of time. Okay. And two, they were sharing classified information with each other over this group chat. So To review, someone with no security clearance was added accidentally to the group chat, making the group chat no longer secure, and the secretaries, the vice president, the secretary of defense, and others were sharing classified information, classified communications over a non-approved source for having these discussions. Okay. The reporter, who thankfully is a patriot and not some kind of Chinese spy, right? Couldn't believe it. He emailed some different people, and they confirmed that, yeah, this was legit. Hours before they struck the Houthis, do you guys remember when they bombed the Houthis in locations? Hours before that, Hegseth was tweeting out specific operational plans on this platform. Again, this non-government platform, unsecured platform, one with a rando reporter that he had added accidentally in the group chat, right? It contained the types of munitions we were going to use, the operations specific when it comes to timing. So when and where we were going to strike, like precisely with what equipment, and with what munitions. And thank God this wasn't, the random person added wasn't someone who was a Colombian protester or something and would quickly text their best buds in the Houthis, right? Because any halfway lethal kind of air defense system with access to that kind of specific information would have just ate our lunch. Even with, like, knowing precisely where the enemy will be at what time and what they will be doing is amazingly good intel, frankly. Amazingly good intel to have. So this, again, this idea that we have government officials, high up government officials texting out classified information like this is wild to me. It's wild to me. And again, when I was in the military, when I was in the Air Force, I held a top secret security clearance with a single scope background check, right? There's a specific type of clearance, pretty high up. They briefed me on how I was to handle the information, okay? And the penalties for mishandling classified intel. Those penalties, severe, gang. At the very least, you would be discharged from service dishonorably. And I'm not talking about leaking things on purpose. I'm not talking if I had accidentally or purposefully stolen intel, right? That's another ballgame, okay? I'm talking about mishandling classified information in such a way which ends up that they get leaked, right? That they get out there in the public. By talking about it in unsecured servers, by accidentally emailing my wife or my girlfriend or my best friend, or posting it in the Discord server I was in, right? If I accidentally did that with classified information, you'd get in serious trouble. It wouldn't be good, right? Article 15 charges, etc. Yeah. Hegseth needs to resign. He needs to be punished for this. This is unacceptable. Unacceptable behavior, right? A lesser, some airman, some E3 schmuck, right? Some A1C would have been discharged and perhaps Article 15 for doing what Hegseth did. Hegseth should face the same thing, the same punishments, right? That absolutely should happen. $5 from Zephyr Hash. It's an honest mistake, Wick. I have added randos to my group chat because they had the same name. You're just crying to cry. Who is this Hegseth even? Thank you for the $5. Happy Tree says, this is fucking embarrassing. I thought these were fake. They are not fake. They're real. They're real things. Skilltree Gaming for $5. Fire him for that OPSEC amateur hour, and let's get some life sentences for Iraq W accountability. Well, I don't know about the life sentence for Iraq. I'm not sure what you're referring to there, but yes, this was embarrassing is a word. Hegseth treated our war plans with the same operational security that Destiny treated other people's nudes. Okay. They treated them with the exact same level of care. The exact same level of care. How were they leaked? Hegseth added the reporter on accident to the group chat because the reporter had the same last name as someone in the administration. That's how it was leaked. It wasn't a hack. Hegseth added some rando. And thank God it was a reporter and not some Chinese spy with the last name of Goldberg, right? And I guarantee you there's Chinese spies furiously changing their signal names to last names of the administration in the hopes that Hegseth gets drunk again and starts adding randos, okay? That's insane to me. It's insane, okay? But let's read the actual article, okay? I've enough pontificating. Okay, keep sending me in those super chats, though, right? That's really nice. But let's get through and let's read it. The Trump administration accidentally texted me its war plans. U.S. national security leaders included me in a group chat about upcoming military strikes in Yemen. I didn't think it could be real. Then the bombs started falling. The world found out shortly before 2 p.m. Eastern Time on March 15th that the United States was bombing Houthi targets across Yemen. I, however, knew 2 hours before the first bombs exploded that the attack might be coming. The reason I knew this is that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, had texted me the war plan at 11:44 a.m. The plan included precise information about weapon packages, targets, and timing. This is going to require some explaining. The story technically begins shortly after the Hamas invasion of southern Israel in October 2023. The Houthis, an Iran-backed terrorist organization whose motto is God is great, death to America, death to Israel, curse on the Jews, victory to Islam, soon launched attacks on Israel and on international shipping, creating havoc for global trade. Throughout 2024, the Biden administration was ineffective in countering these Houthi attacks. The incoming Trump administration promised a tougher response. This is where Pete Hegseth and I come in. On Tuesday, March 11th, I received a connection request on Signal from a user identified as Michael Waltz. Signal is an open-source encrypted messaging service popular with journalists and others who seek more privacy than other text messaging services are capable of delivering. I assumed that the Michael Waltz in question was President Donald Trump's national security advisor. I did not assume, however, that the request was from the actual Michael Waltz. I have met him in the past, and though I didn't find it particularly strange that he might be reaching out to me, I did think it's somewhat unusual given the Trump administration's contentious relationships with journalists, and Trump's periodic fixation on me specifically. It immediately crossed my mind that someone could be masquerading as Waltz in order to somehow entrap me. It's not at all uncommon these days for nefarious actors to try to induce journalists to share information that could be used against them. Okay. So here's this reporter dude, okay? It's like if I'm I'll give you the streamer version. If I'm sitting, right, and then suddenly I get a DM from Elon Musk. I'm like, Elon Musk is DMing me? Why? Why would he do that? I would be suspicious. I would think it's like, is this person verified? Is this a real Elon Musk? Am I being trolled right now? Right? I'd have all these questions. And it looks like he had the similar questions with Mike Waltz here. He says, I accepted the connection request, hoping that this was the actual national security advisor and that he wanted to chat about Ukraine or Iran or some other important matter. 2 days later, Thursday, at 4:28 p.m., I received a notice that I was to be included in a Signal chat group. It was called the Houthi PC Small Group. A message to the group from Michael Waltz reads as follows. Team, establishing a principles, group for coordination on Houthis, particularly over the next 72 hours, My deputy, Alex Wong, is pulling together a tiger team at Deputies Agency Chief of Staff level, following up from the meeting in the sit room this morning for action items that will be sending that out later this evening. The message continued. Please provide the best staff POC from your team for us to coordinate with over the next couple days and over the weekend. Thanks. The term Principals Committee generally refers to a group of the senior-most national security officials, including the Secretaries of Defense, State, and the Treasury, as well as the Director of the CIA. It should go without saying, but I'll say it anyway, that I've never been invited to a White House Principals Committee meeting, and that, in my many years of reporting on the national security matters, I had never heard of one being convened over a commercial messaging app. 1 minute later, a person identified only as Mar, the Secretary of State is Marco Antonio Rubio, hint, hint, gang, wrote, Mike Needham for State, apparently designating the current counselor of the State Department as his representative. And at that same moment, a Signal user identified as J.D. Vance wrote, Andy Baker for VP. 1 minute after that, TG, presumably Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence. I'm sorry, gang, this is just the sheer level of incompetence. I'm sorry, I can't hold it in. I can't hold it in. The sheer level of incompetence at play here boggles my mind. I have better operations security for my DMs and group chats than these chuckle fucks, okay? Someone new gets added to the group, I ask questions, especially if it's a private group where I'm sharing private shit. I ask questions. I do a little investigating. I do a little checking, because in the streamer world, it's very common that people go into the group chats, leak DMs, and try to get you in trouble for various things, okay? So I have some operational security when I'm in a private group, when I'm in private Discord, in any kind of private situation. I always have a level of care that I take, a level of security that I take to keep my shit from being leaked. Because if I'm in private and I say things that are in private, I want it to remain private. This channel, Joyful Warrior, isn't a private channel. Okay. None of you that I know of are in my private channels, right? I have private channels for things like real life friends, people I know in real life. And I don't cross streams. I don't mix these things, right? And that's intentionally and on purpose, because I don't want these things mixed. I don't want my real life mixing with my stream life, okay? It's a recipe for disaster. The, again, astounding display of incompetence by every one of these chuckle fucks just goes to show the level of care they're taking in other areas, such as deporting immigrants, such as Doge, right? It is stepping on rakes over and over and over again. This administration is just stepping on rakes over and over and over. They are not competent enough to run the country, frankly. $5 for the Zephyr Hash. This calls for utmost and urgent action. Americans, as their national duty, should delete Signal on the off chance they get added to the War Room group chat. I am a little jealous that I wasn't accidentally added. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little jealous that I wasn't accidentally added to the group chat. I wanted to know. I would love to have been a fly on the wall. $5 for Happy Trees. How long till you think people try to defend this behavior? It's already happening. I already see people saying that it's fake news. I've seen people saying, well, Hillary's emails were worse. That's a big one that they're going for. Oh, well, what about her emails? Blah, blah, blah. But let's keep reading. Sorry, I just had to. It bothers me. This stuff bothers me. And again, it bothers me is because I worked with classified information, right? When I was in the military, at least for a time, not during Not so much during my crew chief days, right? But beforehand, when I was in cryptolinguist, right? I would again, I was taught the proper procedures for handling this kind of thing. I was taught what you should and shouldn't do, and I was taught what the penalties were if you mishandled these things. Examples were given. And so to watch the Secretary of Defense and this administration break all the rules that I was told to follow as an airman makes me mad. It's just another example of the two-tier justice system, right? Rules for me, but not for thee, right? Us little guys, us enlisted, us worker bees, us cogs, we get one level, okay? The people at the top, they never face the same consequences for doing the exact same shit. And worse shit. I would never mishandle classified information like that, ever. I knew better. Let's keep reading. So 9 minutes later, Scott B., apparently Treasury Secretary Scott Bestant, or someone spoofing his identity, wrote, Dan Katz for Treasury. At 4:53, his user called Pete Hegseth wrote, Dan Caldwell for DOD. And at 6:34, Brian wrote, Brian McCormick for NFC. One more person responded. John Ratcliffe wrote at 5:24 p.m. with the name of a CIA official to be included in the group. I am not publishing that name because that person is an active intelligence officer. Again, this just illustrates how this reporter is taking more care with the private information, the classified intel that he was dumped into his lap by incompetence. He is taking more care than the administration has with this information. And it's infuriating and it's mind-boggling. And let's keep going. I don't want to. Let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. The principals had apparently assembled. In all, 18 individuals were listed as members of this group, including various National Security Council officials, Steve Witkoff, President Trump's Middle East and Ukraine negotiator, Susie Wiles, the White House Chief of Staff, and someone identified only as SM, which I took to stand for Stephen Miller. I appeared on my own screen only as JG. That was the end of the Thursday check text chain. After receiving the Waltz text related to the Houthi PC small group, I consulted a number of colleagues. We discussed the possibility that these texts were part of a disinformation campaign initiated by either a foreign intelligence service or, more likely, a media gadfly organization, the sort of group that attempts to place journalists in embarrassing positions and sometimes succeeds. I had very strong doubts that this text group was real because I could not believe that the national security leadership of the United States would communicate on Signal about imminent war plans. I could also not believe that the national security advisor to the president would be so reckless as to include the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic in such discussions with senior U.S. officials up to and including the vice president of the United States. How we feeling, gang? How we feeling? We feeling secure? Feeling good? Feeling good about America? You couldn't write a story like this. Like, this is stranger than fiction. If I had written a fictional story about a reporter who accidentally got added to a group chat, I would be laughed at because it's too far-fetched. It wouldn't seem believable, right? People would be like, nah, no one's gonna believe that shit, right? No one's gonna believe that actually happened. That's not. Come on, let's be real for a minute. The next day, things got even stranger. At 8:05 a.m. on Friday, March 14th, Michael Waltz texted the group, Team, You should have a statement of conclusions with taskings per the president's guidance this morning in your high side inboxes. High side, in government parlance, refers to classified computer and communications systems. State and DoD, we developed suggested notification lists for regional allies and partners. Joint Staff is sending this AM a more specific sequence of events in the coming days, and we will work with DoD to ensure COS, OVP, and POTUS are briefed. At this point, a fascinating policy discussion commenced. The account labeled JD Vance responded at 8:16, "Team, I am out for the day doing an economic event in Michigan, but I think we are making a mistake." Vance was indeed in Michigan that day. The Vance account goes on to state, 3% of U.S. trade runs through the Suez. 40% of European trade does. There is a real risk that the public doesn't understand this or why it's necessary. The strongest reason to do this, as POTUS said, to send a message. The Vance account then goes on to make a noteworthy statement. Considering that the vice president has not deviated publicly from Trump's position on virtually any issue. I'm not sure the president is aware how inconsistent this is with his message on Europe right now. There's a further risk that we see a moderate to severe spike in oil prices. I'm willing to support the consensus of the team and keep these concerns to myself. But there is a strong argument for delaying this a month, doing the messaging work on why this matters, seeing where the economy is, etc. Bro got caught talking shit in the group chat. Oh no, boys. Bro got caught. Bro got caught red-handed talking that shit. Oh boy, oh boy. This is juicy, gang. I feel like, look, I am... the skills that I have learned in the slop community, okay? The slop streaming community on exposing leaks and how to deal with leaked DMs and things have prepared me for this moment in a way I don't think most reporters are actually prepared, okay? To know the ramifications, the social ramifications of this within small groups and group dynamics in different communities. Wild, gang. Absolutely wild. It's... life's strange, gang. Life's strange. It's been preparing me for this. Cover this exact stuff in this exact moment. Let's keep going. There's a lot. There's a lot, gang. And I wanna go through some of the responses too. So we're gonna go quick. A person identified in Signal as Joe Kent, Trump's nominee to run the National Counterterrorism Center, is named Joe Kent. Remember, nominee, not appointed yet. Wrote at 8:22. There's nothing time sensitive driving the timeline. We'll have the exact same options in a month. Then at 8:26 a.m., a message landed in my Signal app from the user John Ratcliffe. The message contained information that might be interpreted as related to actual and current intelligence operations. Again, the reporter taking more care than these chuckle fucks. Okay. At 8:27, a message arrived from Pete Hegseth account. VP, I understand your concerns and fully support you raising with POSUS. Important considerations, most of which are tough to know how they play out. Economy, Ukraine, peace, Gaza. I think messaging is going to be tough no matter what. Nobody knows who the Houthis are, which is why we would need to stay focused on 1, Biden failed, and 2, Iran funded. The Hegseth message goes on to state, waiting a few weeks or a month does not fundamentally change the calculus. 2 immediate risks on waiting. 1, this leaks and we look indecisive. Yeah? There was a risk of a leak. It could leak. I wonder how it would leak. Maybe if you added reporters to the group chat. Oopsie whoopsies. Or 2, Israel takes an action first or Gaza ceasefire falls apart and we don't get to start this on our own terms. We can manage both. We are prepared to execute, and if I had final go or no-go vote, I believe we should. This is not about the Houthis. I see it as 2 things, restoring freedom of navigation, a core national interest, and 2, reestablish deterrence, which Biden cratered. But we can easily pause, and if we do, I will do all I can to enforce 100% OPSEC, Operation Security. I welcome other thoughts. He's going to do all he can, gang. Every single thing he can to enforce operational security on all this. This is a fucking comedy show. This is a comedy show. You can't tell me that the script writers aren't like just phoning it in at this point, okay? This is too on the nose. Too on the nose. Look, it's too much. I can't take it. I can't take it. It's too much. You're going to do all you can to ensure operational security by chatting with top government officials about secret shit, right? Classified shit on a non-governmental device, an unsecure non-governmental device in a group chat that randos had access to that were not verified by any means, right? They didn't have to go through any verification process. They were just added by chucklefucks. A few minutes later, the Michael Waltz account posted a lengthy note about trade figures and limited capabilities of European navies. Whether it's now or several weeks from now, it will have to be the United States that reopens these shipping lanes. Per the President's request, we are working with DoD and State to determine how to compile the costs associated and levy them on Europeans. The account identified as JD Vance addressed a message at 8:45 to @Pete Hegseth. If you think we should do it, let's go. I just hate bailing Europe out again. The administration has argued that America's European allies benefit economically from the U.S. Navy's protection of international shipping lanes. That's the parentheses. That's not what Mr. Vance says, but it is adding context for the reader. Okay, the user identified as Hegseth responded 3 minutes later. VP, I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic. But almost as pathetic as adding a reporter to your fucking group chat. Okay, but Mike, I'm going to keep doing it, gang. It's just, I can't. I'm incapable. I'm incapable of not just poking at this because this is the dumbest security breach in the history of the country. It's not the most serious, but it is the dumbest. And I will die on that fucking hill. This is the dumbest security breach in all of American history. I challenge you to find a dumber one. You can't. It doesn't exist. This is top tier dumbness. Okay? Top tier. But Mike is correct. We are the only ones on the planet on our side of the ledger who can do this. Nobody even comes close. Question is timing. I feel like now is as good a time as any, given POTUS' directive to reopen shipping lanes. I think we should go, but POTUS still retains 24 hours of decision space. At this point, the previously silent SM joined the conversation. As I heard it, the president was clear. Green light, but we soon make clear to Egypt and Europe that what we expect in return. We also need to figure out how to enforce such a requirement. E.g., if Europe doesn't remunerate, then what? If the U.S. successfully restores freedom of navigation at great cost, there needs to be some further economic gain extracted in return. I hate this rent-seeking. Okay. I hate this rent-seeking behavior that these goons, right, these mafiosos are engaged in. Free trade benefits us directly. The American people directly benefit. We are in the best position to take care of this. We are the ones capable of doing it, and we should do so. That is our job. It is our responsibility as a world power, right? We want to keep the shipping lanes open because when shipping lanes get stalled and bogged down, the cost of consumer goods all over rises extremely in some cases, right? Not to mention all the other side effects, the ripples that extend from such things. So again, this we gotta make them pay for it is crazy to me. But let's keep going. Here's some direct screenshots, gang, of what we just read. I like how they have their little pictures in here. It's so cute. We already read this, so I'm not going to go through it. The message from SM, presumably President Trump's confidant, Stephen Miller, the Deputy White House Chief of Staff, or someone playing Stephen Miller, effectively shut down the conversation. The last text of the day came from Pete Hegseth, who wrote 9:46 a.m., agree. After reading this chain, I recognized that this conversation possessed a high degree of verisimilitude. The texts in their word choice and arguments sounded as if they were written by the people who purportedly sent them, or by a particularly adept AI text generator. I was still concerned that this could be a disinformation operation or a simulation of some sort, and I remained mystified that no one in the group chat seemed to have noticed my presence. But if it was a hoax, the quality of mimicry and the level of foreign policy insight were impressive. In the next morning, Saturday, March 15th, when this story truly became bizarre. Or became truly bizarre. Excuse my slight dyslexia. At 11:44 a.m., the account labeled Pete Hegseth posted in Signal a team update. I will not quote from this update or from certain other subsequent texts. The information contained in them, if they had been read by an adversary of the United States, could conceivably have been used to harm American military and intelligence personnel, particularly in the broader Middle East, Central Command's area of responsibility. What I will say, in order to illustrate the shocking recklessness of this Signal conversation, is that the Hegseth post contained operational details of forthcoming strikes on Yemen, including information about targets, weapons the U.S. would be deploying, and attack sequencing. The only person to reply to the update from Hegseth was a person identified as the vice president. I will say a prayer for victory, Vance wrote. 2 other users subsequently added prayer emojis. According to the lengthy Hegseth text, the first detonations in Yemen would be felt 2 hours hence at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Time. So I waited in my car in a supermarket parking lot. If this Signal chat was real, I reasoned, Houthi targets would soon be bombed. At about 1:55, I checked X and searched Yemen. Explosions were then being heard across Sana'a, the capital city. I went back to the Signal channel. At 1:48, Michael Waltz had provided the group an update. Again, I won't quote from this text, except to note that he described the operation as an amazing job. A few minutes later, John Ratcliffe wrote, "A good start." Not long after, Waltz responded with 3 emoji: a fist, an American flag, and a fire. Others soon joined in, including MAR, who wrote, "Good job, Pete and your team," and Susie Wiles, who texted, "Kudos to all, more particularly those in theater and CENTCOM. Really great. God bless." Steve Witkoff responded with 5 emoji, 2 hands praying, a flexed bicep, and 2 American flags. TG responded, "Great work and effects." The after-action discussion included assessments of the damage done, including the likely death of a specific individual. The Houthi-run Yemen Health Ministry reported that at least 53 people were killed in the strikes, a number that has not been independently verified. Here's a little screenshot for you, gang. Like, if you ever want to know what the government officials talk like, now's your chance. This is hilarious to me. It's funny, but it's also super sad. Let's get those emojis in chat, gang. Right? Let's get some emojis in chat. Let's get the fist, right? We got to get the American flag and the fire emoji, okay? You missed your super chat, did I? Oh, $5 from Zephyr Hash. The real question is, when will Chud Logic do a drama review on the leaked DMs? Has his editor DM'd JG to get more dirt on the administration? Oh, good question. Well, there you go. This is, again, the level of competence we're dealing with in this administration is the worst I have seen in my lifetime. In my lifetime. There's never been a more incompetent administration than this one. Ever. It's stunning. Shit that normies should know to do, right? That normies know how to handle things, right? Do it better. I could pick random people from off the street and they would do a better job with our national security than fucking these chuckle fucks. Insane. On Sunday, Walls appeared on ABC's This Week and contrasted the strikes with the Biden administration's more hesitant approach. These were not kind of pinprick back and forth what ultimately proved to be feckless attacks, he said. This was an overwhelming response that actually targeted multiple Houthi leaders and took them out. The Signal chat group, I concluded, was almost certainly real. Having come to this realization, one that seemed nearly impossible only hours before, I removed myself from the Signal group, understanding that this would trigger an automatic notification to the group's creator, Michael Waltz, that I had left. No one in the chat had seemed to notice that I was there, and I received no subsequent questions about why I left, or, more to the point, who I was. Earlier today, I emailed Waltz and sent him a message on his Signal account. I also wrote to Pete Hegseth, John Ratcliffe, Tulsi Gabbard, and other officials. In an email, I outlined some of my questions. Is the Houthi PC small group a genuine Signal thread? Did they know that I was included in this group? Was I, on the off chance, included on purpose? If not, who did they think I was? Did anyone realize who I was when I was added or when I removed myself from the group? Do senior Trump administration officials use Signal regularly for sensitive discussions? Do the officials believe that the use of such a channel could endanger American personnel? Brian Hughes, the spokesman for the National Security Council, responded 2 hours later, confirming the veracity of the Signal group. This appears to be an authentic message chain, and we are reviewing how an inadvertent number was added to the chain, Hughes wrote. The thread is a demonstration of the deep and thoughtful policy coordination between senior officials. The ongoing success of the Houthi operation demonstrates that there were no threats to troops or national security. Spin it up, brothers! Spin it up! You gotta spin that shit quick as you can. Okay? I'm surprised you didn't make a crack about Hillary in here. William Martin, a spokesperson for Vance, said that despite the impression created by the text, the vice president is fully aligned with the president. Oh, come on! Come on! You can't even for 1 second say, I have some concerns about this, right, in public. The amount of dick sucking involved here is crazy. I can't take it. Keep going. The vice president's first priority is always making sure that the president's advisors are adequately briefing him on the substance of their internal deliberations, he said. Vice President Vance unequivocally supports this administration's foreign policy. The president and the vice president have had subsequent conversations about this matter and are in complete agreement. Yeah, okay. I have never seen a breach quite like this. It is not uncommon for national security officials to communicate on Signal, but the app is used primarily for meeting planning and other logistical matters, not for detailed and highly confidential discussions of a pending military action. And of course, I've never heard of an instance in which a journalist has been invited to such a discussion. Conceivably, Waltz, by coordinating a national security-related action over Signal, may have violated several provisions of the Espionage Act, which governs the handling of national defense information, according to several national security lawyers interviewed by my colleague Shane Harris for this story. Harris asked them to consider a hypothetical scenario in which a senior U.S. official creates a Signal thread for the express purpose of sharing information with cabinet officials about an active military operation. He did not show them the actual Signal messages or tell them specifically what had occurred. Again, the reporter being more careful with national security shit than any of the people involved in that shit show. Okay? All these lawyers said that a U.S. official should not establish a Signal thread in the first place. Information about an active operation would presumably fit the law's definition of national defense information. The Signal app is not approved by the government for sharing classified information. The government has its own system for that purpose. It does, gang. Okay. If officials want to discuss military activity, they should go into a specially designed space known as Sensitive Compartmented Information Facility, or a SCIF. Most cabinet-level national security officials have one installed in their home or communicate only on approved government equipment, the lawyer said. Normally, cell phones are not permitted inside a SCIF, which suggests that as these officials were sharing information about an active military operation, they could have been moving around in public. Had they lost their phones or had they been stolen, the potential risk to national security would have been severe. That is, again, one of the reasons when I was going to be talking about work stuff, even at my low level, right, when I was in the military, if it was work related, I did not text it. I did not use my phone to talk about it. There was government systems that they had, and we used those. I don't know precisely about home-installed SCIFs, but I know that I couldn't take my cell phone into any place that there was classified information. I was not allowed. They would you'd leave them in the room before, right? Because they didn't want, again, there's all sorts of reasons you can imagine you don't want people with cell phones with access to that. And largely, again, if I had accidentally left my laptop, my work laptop, which was a government device, in public, and I had lost it, right, there would be severe consequences for that, okay? You handled these things with care, or yeah, you suffered the consequences. This is just amazingly incompetent. Let's finish up. We're almost done. Hegseth, Ratcliffe, and other cabinet-level officials presumably would have the authority to declassify information, and several of the national security lawyers noted that the hypothetical officials on the signal chain might claim that they had declassified the information they shared. But this argument rings hollow, they cautioned, because Signal is not an authorized venue for sharing information of such a sensitive nature, regardless of whether it has been stamped top secret or not. There was another potential problem. Walz set some of the messages in the Signal group to disappear after 1 week, and some after 4. That raises questions about whether the officials may have violated federal records law. Text messages about official acts are considered records that should be preserved. Under the records law applicable to the White House and federal agencies, all government employees are prohibited from using electronic messaging applications such as Signal for official business unless those messages are promptly forwarded or copied to an official government account. Jason R. Barron, a professor at the University of Maryland and the former director of litigation at the National Archives and Records Administration, told Harris. Intentional violations of these requirements are a basis for disciplinary action. Additionally, agencies such as the Department of Defense restrict electronic messaging containing classified information to classified government networks and or networks with government-approved encrypted features, Barron said. Several former U.S. officials told Harris and me that they had used Signal to share unclassified information and discuss routine matters, particularly when traveling overseas without access to U.S. government systems. But they knew never to share classified or sensitive information on the app because their phones could have been hacked by foreign intelligence service, which would have been able to read the messages on the devices. It is worth noting that Donald Trump, as a candidate for president and as president, repeatedly and vociferously demanded that Hillary Clinton be imprisoned for using a private email server for official business when she was Secretary of State. It is also worth noting that Trump was indicted in 2023 for mishandling classified documents, but the charges were dropped after his election. Walz and other cabinet-level officials were already potentially violating government policy and the law simply by texting one another about the operation. But when Walz added a journalist, presumably by mistake, to his principals committee, he created new security and legal issues. Now the group was transmitting information to someone not authorized to receive it. This is a classic definition of a leak, even if it was unintentional, and even if the recipient of the leak did not actually believe it was a leak until Yemen came under American attack. All along, members of the Signal group were aware of the need for secrecy in Operation Security. In his text detailing aspects of the forthcoming attack on Houthi targets, Hegseth wrote to the group, which at the time included me, "We are currently clean on OPSEC." The Are we tired of winning yet? Ladies and gentlemen, as a nation, are we tired of winning? I'm fucking exhausted. Not only is this story important because it shows the utter incompetence of Walz, Hegseth, and others in that group with regards to the operational security that they treat our military actions. But it also is important because it's an example. It's indicative of the level of care they take with other sensitive information, such as Doge and their access to your Social Security information, their access to your medical and Medicare and Medicaid information, right? Their access to other sensitive documents, other sensitive information, other sensitive files, right? It shows the level of care which they treat those things. They treat the responsibility they have been given. It also shows the level of care they take when they are choosing who is a gang member to send to El Salvador prison, right? To deport. It is indicative of a style of behavior that seems to be a pattern in this administration of rank incompetence. Rank incompetence. It's insane. We have a competency crisis in this White House. No one knows what the fuck they're doing. They are putting Americans at risk when they text each other over non-government devices names of CIA agents, okay? Operation in the field. Thank God that reporter was an American patriot, okay? And not some scum. They are putting our national security at risk with how they handle themselves. They're putting me and you at risk with how they're handling themselves. Look, I can do a better job. Appoint me. Appoint me. I'll do a better job. I'll do a better job with our national security information than Pete Hegseth, Tim Waltz, or any of these fuckers would. Or Mike Waltz, I should say. Sorry. I do a better job than these chuckle fucks, okay? Let's see what some of these people have to say, okay? Let's see what Pete Hegseth said about when Biden mishandled or handled classified documents flippantly. Let's see what he has to say about that. I wonder what he has.
Lawyers, which is why it does feel like it's so much different than what happened to Donald Trump.
Well, look, unless the FBI is paying those personal attorneys, they shouldn't be taking anybody's word but their own investigators in the DOJ.
No.
I mean, that's their job. Unless they're getting paid. And if they are, that would be our money. So maybe we go deeper. I don't think they are. But what else would be the reason for why at this point you don't tap every place he's ever been since he left office as a senator 15 years ago, since you know some of the latest documents date back to then? Why aren't you now going every place he's been? And by the way, who else has been with all those papers? Maybe you have 1,000 places you need to go now, depending on how many hands touched them.
Yeah, I mean, he is the president of the United States, which does create complications. But it also increases the urgency. If the top man in the job handled classified documents this flippantly for that long, why was that the case? Was it really that he didn't know? Because when you take something out of a skiff, if you're a senator, you know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly what you're doing.
You had to sneak it out.
And you're moving it. You had to sneak it out. Or someone gave it to you with the wrong protocol, which you were complicit in.
Someone gave it to you with the wrong protocol, which you were complicit in when taking out of a skiff? You know what a skiff is, sir. Okay? You're aware. Remember, kids, that's a specially compartmentalized information like place, right? Skiff. It's fairly common. Let's keep going.
And then you don't even know how many you have, and you've clearly hidden them from the public. You're the president of the United States. As was stated earlier by Governor Sununu, if at the very top there's no accountability, why should there be for Christian Saucier, the submariner who took photos in a submarine and didn't even show them to anybody, just had them, and they wanted to throw away the key on the guy? That's the two tiers of justice that exist. This is going to haunt.
Preach it, brother. 2 tiers of justice, right? I agree. Let's keep
the
going.
Biden campaign, should he try to run. Because this connects dots to Hunter. This connects dots to foreign interference or the foreign influence. And if anyone in the press outside of this network actually does any homework, the smoke is right there. The question is, will they do it? And Biden's political opponents know that weakness, and they'll continue to foment it.
Yeah, the worst part so far that legal experts have told me, Pete, is finding
DOJ.
The levels. Okay, there's more. We can keep going, right? But the levels of just chutzpah, okay, the chutzpah it takes. I'm waiting to see what Hegseth says. Okay, I'm waiting to see what Hegseth says, how he responds to this. An honorable man would resign. Someone with any sort of shame or decency or any sort of integrity would resign. They'd just resign. They'd be like, yeah, I fucked up. Shouldn't have done it. Sorry. I apologize. I stained my honor. I stained the integrity of the office. I'm the Secretary of fucking Defense. I should know better. I'm done. I'm resigning. That's what should happen, okay? One's in chat if you think it will. But yes, we'll see how he responds. I have not seen him respond yet, but we'll see. Let's see what else he has to
People
say.
we rely on to do dangerous and difficult thing for us rely on one thing from us, that we will not reveal their identity and not be reckless with what the dangerous things they're doing for us. That's the national security implications of a private server that's unsecured. That's why we look at a guy like Snowden and say, he's not a hero, he's a traitor. He put lives at risk, and you can get people killed when you do that.
Really? Maybe sharing classified information on a non-secure, non-government device might be bad? You're putting lives at risk, Mr. Secretary of Defense? Really? Oh, yeah, you know what? I kind of agree. Keep going.
Law enforcement and military, there are sources. You have sources that provide information, intelligence to you on how to identify criminals or threats. How damaging is it to your ability to recruit or build allies with others when they are worried that our leaders may be exposing them because of their gross negligence or their recklessness in handling information?
Their gross recklessness and negligence of handling information, right? Why should people trust us with their information? Good point, Secretary. Let's keep going, because he's not the only one who's made some comments. Little Marco, little Rubio here, right? Last night, Sean Hannity asked me about the latest news regarding Hillary's emails. This is what I had to say. Nobody is above the law, not even Hillary Clinton. Oh, does it not have a link to the fucking... Oh, man, that's disappointing. Mike Waltz. Biden's sitting National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan sent top-secret messages to Hillary Clinton's private account. And what did the DOJ do about it? Not a damn thing. Mike Waltz, you added some fucking reporter guy to your secret chat about national security issues, where you and others shared confidential, classified, national security information on war plans, on military strikes before they were being carried out, specific details on munitions, specific details on the equipment we would use, specific details on the operational tempo, specific details on the strike coordination, where they would be, when they would hit, what targets they would hit. That's what you did, sir. You, specifically. What will the DOJ do about it? Pete Hegseth in 2016.
Info. Some of the recipients, her top aides, Cheryl Mills, Huma Abedin, Jake Sullivan, Philippe Reines. You've heard this. This is her inner circle, as well as State Department Undersecretary for Management Patrick Kennedy. A second source says the number of email accounts involved could be as high as 30. Pete, I want to go to you on this. It's very, very serious. And it goes to something that we've been talking about right here. A lot of people culpable in this. And when you look at the sensitive material, highly classified, top secret material, this is an administration-wide scandal. And these names I just read, they should be thrown in jail as well.
Yeah, let me be clear, to quote the president. Hillary Clinton, if there was anyone other than Hillary Clinton, they would be in jail right now.
Correct.
For what is...
Would it, Mr. Hegseth? Oops, I clicked the wrong button. I should have paused it. Right, I'll go back a little bit. Sorry, my bad. Anyone other than Hillary Clinton would be in jail, huh? Well, I guess we're going to find out.
Assumption is in the intelligence community. If you are using unclassified means, there is the potential for and likelihood that foreign governments are targeting those accounts and gathering intelligence from them, which means that individual and the others associated with them have been passing around through unsecure networks information, sources, and methods of people on the ground, covers compromised in real time.
Yes.
This is a real deal, full-blown national security scandal.
Right.
And Republicans need to keep pointing that out time and time again. The question is, will Bernie have the courage to do it?
Sandra, it's not just the names of CIA agents, details for special operations missions. This is cut and dry. When you take information, SAP, top secret, off of that server and put it on an open architecture server,
Fried.
it is a felony,
Oh my
a
gosh.
felony of the highest order. Immediately, 10 years in prison. Why? Why?
Or texting them in a Signal group chat where you've added randos and haven't verified anyone's identity. She is hot. Okay. Yes, that is true. But that's beside the point. Don't get distracted. Stay on target. Okay. Stay on target. Stay focused. Stay focused. Okay. Yes. They're right about the national security concerns with that kind of thing, right? They're right about that. The seriousness of the Clinton emails is a different story. But when it comes to sharing classified information on unsecure networks, there is a very real danger to that, especially right on your fucking cell phone. Okay, even with apps like Signal that do provide a little bit more security, things like this. This is just this should be embarrassing, shameful for those involved, especially if you have literally dozens of clips, right, of you talk about this shit, okay? Literally dozens. We won't have time to get to them all.
Why the smirk? And what do we need to understand about this alleged leaker?
Well, you know, what's been alleged, Bill, is that James Wolfe, who for the past 29 years has been the Senate Intelligence Committee's security director, had tens of thousands of communications with at least 3 different reporters. I think the most troubling allegation, Bill, is that on the day he received classified information about Carter Page, obviously a central figure in the Trump-Russia collusion investigation and potential FISA abuse matter, he had 82 text message communications with one reporter in particular. So I think folks need to understand that the Senate Intelligence Committee and the House Intelligence Committee have oversight over the FBI, over the CIA, and over the NSA, and as a result, the folks on those committees and the folks that work for those committees have access to our most sensitive national security matters. So it's always a good thing that we see that there is investigation and prosecution of folks if they're not handling that classified information
so let's see where that goes.
Investigation and prosecution of folks who don't handle classified information correctly. I wonder if he'll keep this stance. Remember, John Ratcliffe apparently was in that group server with unverified accounts. People no one knows, right? If they were the real people involved, okay? Like they obviously didn't verify any of these. It's amazing. It's crazy. And the piece de resistance tweeted just days ago, mere 10 days ago, by our Director of National Intelligence. Any unauthorized release of classified information is a violation of the law. Will be treated as such. Well, Director Tulsi, Director Gabbard, ball's in your court. Ball is in your court. What else is there to say? My fear here, and I already see some rumblings of this in my server and other places, right? My fear here is that this is going to be turned into another thing where, well, what about this person on the other side who did something similar? What about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? And we'll play this game, right? And we'll continue to play this game, and we'll keep playing this game. We're never willing to hold anyone accountable, because at some point our enemy did something similar and they weren't held accountable. Or at least not accountable to the level we would have liked. Or even they were held accountable, but we're going to bring it up anyway, right? And we're just going to do this for literally everything, right? Literally everything under the sun will be this argument of the other side did it too. Look at but don't you remember this other side doing it? Right? How can you be mad when your side did it? And that will be just it. That will be as far as it's taken. That will be as far as anyone goes with it, right? It's going to destroy us. We'll never be able to hold anyone accountable. We'll never be able to improve. We'll never be able to get better. We'll never be able to have competent people in the White House again, right? Because we will play this game, this stupid fucking game of, well, the other side did it too. Well, why didn't you ever talk about when the other side did it? Well, why didn't you ever talk about when your side did it? And we'll play this game. And it's a game, to be clear. It's a way to avoid taking responsibility for your side's actions. For people who are in power, it's a way for them to deflect on their crimes, on their incompetence, right? And put it on someone else. So the conversation is on someone else. Don't let them do that shit. Peach Dreams is rating with a party of 41. Welcome. We're talking about Hegseth's stunning display. Well, it's not just Hegseth. Let's be fair. Mike Waltz, Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, like all of them. Their stunning incompetence in basically mishandling classified war plans and the names of active CIA operating officials and agents with a random reporter who they accidentally added to the group chat. That's insane. This is a level of incompetence we have not seen before. There have been leaks before. There have been mistakes before. But this has to be. And I think almost everyone will agree with me here. The dumbest leak of all time. The dumbest security violation of all time. So yeah, we're talking about this in about 10 minutes now. 10 minutes. We're going to have some guests to go, and we're going to be talking about the Autopen schedule. So the Autopen, the Biden pardon Autopen scandal, quote unquote. Pisco will be joining us. We'll be joined also by Admiral Gibbs and Nina and Pentuple. And we'll have a good old-fashioned blood sports debate. Should be fun. Should be interesting. Should be good. I wanted to go early. I wanted to go live early, though, because we had to talk about this. We had to discuss this, right? We had to. It's amazing, gang. It's amazing. If you like the content, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. If you're watching this on Twitch, hit the follow button. We do streams like this all the time. So thank you again once more for the raid. I will shout out to your community here. Let me make sure I get your name right. Boop, 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 boop. And they need a better way to do this. But yeah, oops. See, I typed it wrong because I suck. There, that should be it. Okay, so yes, make sure that you give Peach Dreams a follow, who was so kind to rate us, and I do appreciate all of you for stopping by. Peach Dream says, "Oh man, I tried to raid, but I don't know if it worked. A few times, excited to watch." Well, thank you for being here. Yeah, it worked. It worked out. You guys are here, or you should be. It's okay. I make mistakes all the time. But yeah, this is one of those things where it's important to have a flexible. This is why I don't schedule things out like weeks in advance. I always do it maybe a week in advance, 1 week, maybe 2 weeks maximum. Because I always like to have room in my content to cover breaking news. There was absolutely no way I could have predicted that this would happen today. None whatsoever. Okay? But we need to have the room and the flexibility to cover it when it does happen, because it's hilarious and sad. And this is America now. This is our government. This is the people who are in charge of us. The people who are in charge of us. Peach Stream says, wait, what the fuck is happening? Okay, so again, Peach Streams, what is happening is the Secretary of Defense, Hegseth, shared classified information, war plans, with a reporter on accident in a group chat. It's a group chat leak. It's a group chat leak. It's real. I'll give you the link in the chat. You can click on it. You can read it. It's insane. We went through the article on stream before you got here. I just don't understand. Like, again, these are the people who are in charge of deporting illegal immigrants. At this point, I don't know if they're deporting illegal immigrants or just brown people that they think look illegal. Right? This is the level of checking that they're doing. This is the level of care they take and how they perform their operations. It's stunningly bad. It's stunningly bad. Hegseth needs to lose his goddamn job. He needs to resign or be fired. One of the two. Mike Waltz, also needs to lose his job. Anyone else who shared classified information within that group chat needs to lose their jobs. Oh yeah, Trump did say something about this. Let's watch that. Thank you for reminding me. Here's Trump's response to it all. Let's see what he has to say.
Mr. President, your reaction to the story in The Atlantic that said that some of your top cabinet officials and aides had been discussing very sensitive material through Signal and included an Atlantic reporter for that. What is your response to that?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
With the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis? Right. Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time. Anybody else?
You're telling me about it for the first time. Oh, no, we don't see the stuff I watch. Okay. We'll go back to the face cam. Okay. You don't need to see my algorithm. Okay. You don't need to see any of that. What a great answer, gang. I, for one, am totally relieved. Weight off my mind that he's taking this very seriously. He's lying? Yeah, probably. Yeah, honestly. Because again, remember, the person who published this report told the people involved, he sent an email to involved, and they responded to him way before this was published. I'm not sure the exact time frame. But if you think that these people, upon receiving this, didn't tell... You know what? Actually, no. I can't even say that. Because the level of competence, like, that they have been doing this, it very well may be that none of the people thought to tell the president about what happened. Or that there was going to be a report coming out. That might actually have happened. That might actually have occurred. So I can't say with any degree of competence that Trump is lying here, that the reporters are the ones that are telling him about this and reporting this for the first time, right? I can't say he's lying in there. I can't, because the level of competence in his administration that they have demonstrated, I would not be shocked or surprised if none of those people, including the Vice President, J.D. Vance, right? Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of National Security, his White House Chief of Staff, all these people were within this group. It would not shock me that none of them thought to say, hey, heads up, Mr. President, this is coming down the pipeline. Here's what happened. Here's who was involved, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? In a normal administration, in a normal way of doing things, in a normal, any kind of competent organizational structure, when you have a fuck up, and fuck ups happen, those absolutely occur. When you have a fuck up, you report it. And hey, especially if you know there's going to be like some bad action that's coming down the pipe that you guys are going to have to deal with, right? You're going to have to do some damage control, something, right? You report it. You send it up the chain, right? You let the people know, like, hey, this is what happened. This is who was involved. This is what's probably going to come of this. Yeah. But that's a competent administration. And I don't know if this one is competent enough to do even that. $10 from Pondering Politics. What would you like Dems to do with this politically? I want them to beat them over the head with it again and again and again, because this is a threat to our national security. If they were doing it for this information, if they were having this kind of conversation with this, right, in this instance, they have been doing this for a lot longer. This isn't the only group chat that probably exists out there that they're sharing information like this. This seems to be their operating procedure. We have procedure in place for a reason. Okay? The government implements ways to deal with classified information, to deal with all these things, in order to avoid leaks, in order to avoid situations like the one that they're dealing with right now. This is why following procedure matters and is important. It's one in a long line. And again, this is the care they're taking with their classified war plans, their strike targets, their methods of attack, right? Think of the level of care that they're treating your personal information with, that DOJ is treating your Social Security information, your Medicare information, your Medicaid information that they all have access to. Who's to say that they aren't sharing those in their little group chats for whatever the fuck reason, right? Maybe you have a funny last name. I don't know. It's insane. $5 from Zephyr Hash. The reporter should have waited for VP Russia to send a message for the real Jews. Oh, for VP Vladimir Putin? I don't know. I thought VP stood for the vice president, but maybe VP in the group chat stood for Vladimir Putin. I don't know. Wouldn't shock me. Let me send some messages out to the people who are going to be on the show tonight in about 2 minutes, and I'll pull them in. Give me 1 second, please, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on. 1 moment. Give me, let me find it. Copy link. Click link, accept rules, jump backstage. I'll pull you in. Then I have to use the restroom, a little boy's room, once we get these people in here. Okay, let's switch up. Hello.
Oh my god, I'm alone.
Hello.
Okay.
You're live, by the way, gang.
Slur. No,
As are we.
Okay, just letting
As
you know. I went live early because we had to. We had to cover Hegseth's little oopsie whoopsie, right? And
What was his
Mike
oopsie
Waltz's
whoopsie?
little oopsie whoopsie. Have you not heard the news? So,
today?
I'm sure you're about to tell us if we didn't
I
get
am
news.
about
Go
to
ahead.
tell you. Okay. So apparently, a reporter from The Atlantic was added to a top secret group chat, including J.D. Vance, Mike Waltz, Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, and a few others, where they were texting each other the war plans for how to strike the Houthis, CIA operative intelligence names, and all sorts of other fun classified information. And they accidentally added this reporter because he had the same last name as someone in the administration. And so this reporter had access.
What were they messaging on? Like a government server, though? Like, what were they messaging on? No, but I'm saying you're saying they added him because they had the wrong last name.
Yep.
Did they how'd they get the number? They had like a record book.
It was on
book?
Signal. It was on just a messaging service. Signal.
That was
It wasn't a government magazine.
Is it on Signal?
I skimmed the article earlier, but I didn't really get very much into it.
You should read it.
I haven't heard anything about it. So I'm just going off what you're saying.
I've been working, and then I prepped for this for 30 minutes before.
All I'm saying is I stand with Tulsi Gabbard that any unauthorized release of classified information is a violation of the law. It should be treated as such.
We're gonna be doing a lot of those kind of checks tonight. I see already. Started it off good.
Yeah. But gang, okay.
We're matching, Gibbs.
Nina, nice to see you. It's been a while. So.
Good to see you.
Oh yeah, we are matching. It's like we read each other's minds,
Yeah, you guys do seem remarkably coordinated in your setups. And
what you didn't know is that Nina and I actually are in a secret group chat on Signal, and we get all our top secret.
I don't even know what Signal is.
Yeah, I don't either.
It's like WhatsApp or Telegram. It's a messaging service.
Gotcha.
Like Discord, but different. I'm just mad I didn't get added to the group chat, to be real with you. Okay. I wanted to be in the group chat. Once Pisco figures out how to undeafen himself, we'll get started.
That's fine.
Yeah, I know. I do need to use the restroom in a second, but we'll get started first, and then we'll...
It's so long.
Well, you can always do it now while we're not doing nothing, That's...
Entertain my chat while Pisco figures it out, and I will be right.
What up?
Oh, there he is. Special. Okay, Pisco.
Oh, good. I was about to
give
just
me
start
1 second.
racial
I do have to use the restroom. I've been covering the Hegseth. Oopsie whoopsie. Right? I went live a little early to talk about that, but today we're talking about something different. So I'll introduce the topic. We'll get into it, and while you guys do your opening statements, I'll go do my thing. So recently, tonight's topic is Joe Biden's pardons and Trump declaring them null and void, in part because it was signed by Autopen. The scandal here, or the alleged scandal, is that Biden did not know he had signed these pardons because it was signed due to Autopen, which is a device that would sign the signature of the president, etc. And this means, according to Trump, that these pardons no longer have the force of law. And that's what we're going to be covering today. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to give the mic over first to Admiral Gibbs to explain his position, and then we'll just go around the room. But I got to use a little bit of boys' room, so no slurs while I'm gone. Gibbs, take it away.
Go ahead, All right, cool. I'm Admiral Gibbs. You can find me everywhere as Admiral Gibbs if you don't already know me. I host the Debate Championship Series and the Give Me a Break podcast. Fun stuff. We'll be doing those the next 2 days at 5 o'clock on Thursday and then 7:30 on Thursday as well. All right, so tonight we are here to talk about the Autopen controversy. It is clear to me that the Dems today either don't understand or are purposely choosing not to engage what the Republicans' argument is about Autopen. That argument is that it was used fraudulently by unelected bureaucrats, and the entire Biden presidency was built on a lie, and thus should be nullified and charges pressed. Before continuing, let's define the word fraud. I have here in my hands a Black's Law dictionary, and as any reputable lawyer will tell you, it is the definitive authority for legal definitions. Fraud is defined as knowing misrepresentation or knowing concealment of a material fact made to induce another act to his or her detriment. All right? The dishonest Dems here would like you to believe that there's no legal basis for any of this. However, this is just more of the same tactic. The Dems are, as evidenced by their most recent, totally organic and not at all organized rally in which GPS cell phone data shows these people have been at multiple protests. 80% of these people have been at multiple protests and rallies in other states. Still believe lying and gaslighting the American public is the way to win elections. I am here today to expose them for the lying, hypocrite, snake oil salesmen they are when they attempt to bamboozle you, the American people, with their baby back bullshit. This debate is simple. We know for a fact that Biden wasn't mentally fit to be president from almost day one. Who was running the White House? We don't know. WIC TV here has said multiple times on panels that I have been on while Biden was in office that he was okay with these phantom bureaucrats leading the nation for him as long as it got shit done. At least WIC was honest about it. I have major problems with this idea that unelected shadow government officials could somehow run the executive branch using the president's authority. However, the dishonest Dems seem to like the idea of fan officials having the power to use Autopen to accomplish their nefarious goals.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here. We'll get into it. Nina, hi.
Hi.
What's your thoughts?
All of my thoughts on this is pretty. I agree with Wick, or sorry, not Wick. I agree with the Gibbs that it is very simple. Which what I mean by that is that it's very, very simple. That establishing Autopen as some sort of illegitimate source of signing would be catastrophic and is very dumb. The first president to use a form of Autopen was literally Thomas Jefferson. So if we're going to try and talk about like overturning everything that's ever been signed with Autopen, I think that's some silly Billy shit, I would like to call it. I think that Gibbs's argument starts off like to kind of counterbalance or to goes against his own position because Trump uses Autopen. Are you trying to say that everything that he did? Like, do you think that he signed 2,000 plus pardons directly? Come on, like you're being silly, and you're totally undermining your own position. So, as far as I'm concerned, this is like a complete distraction. It's just another one of the authoritarian things that Trump does constantly because he doesn't have any consistency. He doesn't believe in any actual organization. He doesn't believe in our establishments. And it's just stupid.
Okay. Well, thanks for being here. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Pentuple.
Hi. So hopefully your argument isn't against the Autopen because nobody's making that argument. The Autopen is valid. The issue is whether the use of the Autopen is valid. Well, the argument we're basically having here today is about forgery. If somebody has control of the Autopen, does this make them an agent of the president? Does this give them the right to assert the president's signature to things that the president did not explicitly and directly consent to? That is the question here. So nobody's arguing that everything signed by Autopen is invalid. The problem is that there's no evidence that Biden was even aware of these. And if there was, that evidence would be very easy to provide. I think it's very telling that the other side is dismissing the burden of proof or trying to argue about Autopens in general when all we are asking for is evidence that Biden honestly, we need evidence that Biden initiated this as the president, but we'll just accept evidence that he was even aware, even though I think there's an issue with them just giving away preemptive pardons and then bringing it to the president to be signed. But as a matter of principle, the Autopen is a reflection of the president's consent. Only the president can do this. So nobody has an issue if he's using the Autopen. I have no issue with him using the Autopen, whether he's abroad or whatever. It has to still reflect the consent of the president for that specific thing, as if he had read that document in full, not just like a general thing. This is the signature of the president, and that's what it reflects. So every use of the Autopen has to be approved by the president. This doesn't require a paper trail, but it will run you into problems if later on you need the paper trail to prove that the Autopen was valid. There's legal questions about whether an Autopen is self-authenticating in the same way as a wet ink signature. You can't forge your own signature. That's self-authenticating in court. I don't know if that same applies to an Autopen signature. So all we're asking for is some sort of authority. And I think ultimately, regardless of the whole legal issue, the only truth I want to know is if Biden actually wanted to sign off on these pardons. These are different pardons than usual because they're preemptive. We don't even know why these people need the pardons. I'd be curious if the people here defending these pardons today will continue to defend them after we know why they might have needed them. And I will say, just to set up for later discussion, I do expect that the path of challenge for these pardons will be a prosecution of somebody who claims to have a valid pardon. And then the court will have to look at the validity of that pardon. And I think the burden of proof could arguably fall on the person who's claiming that they have a valid pardon. Okay. They're going to have some sort of evidence that shows that the pardon was valid, and with Autopen, it's not self-authenticating. So I want to know if Biden approved it. I think that if he hasn't, there's a serious question if people are signing off preemptive pardons without the president's consent or knowledge. That's a enormous issue. So I want to know the truth, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, thank you for being here. We'll get into it as we go. Finally, last but certainly not least, Pisco.
Yeah, those were the two stupidest opening arguments that I've ever heard in my life. I mean, let's start with Gibbs, who ventured into absurdity by, first of all, citing Black's Law Dictionary, saying it's the definitive source of all things legal in the United States. When it's like a treatise, it's a dictionary made by like a 19th century English person. It's informative for a lot of our legal principles, but it's certainly not binding. But I'll accept, the definition of fraud as laid out by the Black's Law Dictionary. Gibbs didn't even attempt to show how the elements of fraud are met out in his particular case for Biden. He didn't explain how and these pardons were inducing something. He didn't explain what the lie was, and so just as a threshold matter, Gibbs' whole citation is fucking stupid. Doesn't do the work of explaining how the analysis of how exactly that framework is applying to the pardons at issue. Both him and the other guy, I don't know his name, ventured into the irrelevant, like the merits of the policy behind the pardons. Who gives a fuck? That's not what we're here to argue about, whether or not the pardons were just or not. So notice every time that they say something irrelevant, like, do you agree with the pardons or you not agree with the pardons? I think Gibbs started talking about some like random other policy shit, about where people were in time and space and other matters. So anything that's not about whether or not these pardons are valid is beside the point, completely irrelevant. And let's talk about burden of proof here. The burden of proof is on the people asserting the claim. It's you guys who are saying these pardons are invalid. You have to adduce some evidence that these were not authorized by Joe Biden. I'm glad that I guess you guys aren't saying that prima facie the use of the Autopen is not justifiable. That would be like an untenable position. So I'm glad you're not going that sort of crazy. But what evidence do you have? Because the pardons themselves purport to be from Joe Biden. Joe Biden says they're from him. The administration announces from Joe Biden. So what evidence do you have that they were not from Joe Biden? And when that evidence is produced, we can have a discussion.
Well,
yeah, I mean, this is some like air quote lawyer bullshit. He didn't even address the issue that we brought up. It's really funny for someone that's such a highly reputable lawyer to totally avoid the legal issues at hand that we brought up. He literally put words in my mouth, didn't respond to anything I actually said, which was, and this is the crazy part, I posted about 5 articles in the Discord that we're all in about Biden's cognitive decline. We know Mike Johnson, okay, I admit he's a partisan actor, and says, but he still said is a direct source, direct eyewitness testimony that claims Biden himself said, hey, I didn't know I did this. That's direct source. We know that. We have evidence already that he doesn't. Then we have reports from Biden administration officials saying that he is not cognizant. And they were basically one of the biggest cover-ups of the last 20 years. They were covering up that he was not able to do things. Is it your position, yes or no, that these pardons are invalid? Hold on. This is basically the tantamount. My position is that the Biden presidency
is it your position, yes or no?
You can keep repeating the same thing, or you can let me finish. Anyway, and my last thing is basically, like I said in my opening, if you had been listening, maybe write some stuff down. Terrible lawyer skills. But if you are listening, I said repeatedly that the Biden administration was based on a fraudulent claim. Once again, it was based on a fraudulent claim that he was even cognizant of being president.
Okay.
He shouldn't even been president because he's not cognizant. And we have reports that he was not mentally capable.
Is it your position, Gibbs, that the pardons are invalid?
Do you believe that writing a check for a grandmother with Alzheimer's is a valid check? Is writing a check for somebody with Alzheimer's as the executive should say a valid check.
Gibbs,
is that a valid check? Is that a valid check? We can just keep doing the same thing. I'm not going to let you do this bully bullshit. Listen, it's a very simple question. Is as the executive of state, if my grandmother has Alzheimer's and I write a check fraudulently, is that a valid check?
Yes or no?
Is it a valid?
Okay, enough. You're all talking over each other. No one can hear. Shut up, Gibbs. Shut up. Pentuple, shut up, Pisco, all of you. Okay, the question, and I am curious too, I think Pisco asked a good question. Which of you, right here, think that yes, Pentuple at least will...
Yes or no?
Yes, but here's the if.
By the way. We have a lawyer with a different opinion.
To that question, Gibbs, yes
or no? Answer from you about if I write a check for my grandmother who's got Alzheimer's, is it a valid check? You're not going to answer that because you know that I'm right. That's because you're a weasel and you're going to run. But of course. But go ahead.
Is it your position, yes or no?
Is the check for an Alzheimer's?
Is it your position, yes or no?
For a grandmother with Alzheimer's, a valid check.
We were here to discuss the pardons.
Yeah, I mean, answer that check. Can you answer that question? Why are you afraid to answer that question?
You're a fucking lolcow, Gibbs.
You're a lolcow.
asking
You're an
you
idiot.
people?
You can't even answer my question. Is that a valid check? Yes or no?
Is it your position, Gibbs?
Is it your position that's a valid check?
No?
Is it your position?
Is it your
that if I
position
wrote my
that the
check for
pardons are valid
Alzheimer's
or
grandma,
invalid?
is that's a valid check? We can keep this all day.
Is it your
Okay.
I'm
Oh my God.
asking this
Here,
shit.
I'm gonna mute you. Okay,
ask
I'm gonna
Pisco.
mute Pisco for a minute too. Okay, gang, and I'm gonna mute you if you keep talking, Pentuple. We can't just do this asking the same question over and over and over and over again. Both of you are going to drive me insane. We have to move on at some point, right? We have to have a conversation. The question at hand, again, does anyone here think that the pardons are invalid?
Can I answer this? Yes. I'm prepared to answer this if you guys allow me.
Yes,
so,
please.
yes, if the president was unaware. When Pisco dismissed the potentiality of fraud here, I want to ask Pisco, if the president was not aware that his Autopen was used on these pardons, would you consider that fraud or not?
So if the president was unaware that Autopen was used?
No. If the president was unaware that his signature was being affixed to these pardons. I don't care about Autopen. I've not made the argument that Autopen is any different than his signature as long as he's consented. It reflects his consent. So our question is here, did the president consent to these pardons being signed? Did he direct the use of the Autopen?
I mean, that has nothing to do with the signature. I mean, what is a legal citation that a signature is required? Wait. What is the legal citation that... Wait. Excuse me. Sorry. I'm answering the question. What is the legal citation? Wait. So whether he's aware of a signature or not isn't the important question. The question is he aware of the pardon? That's the question.
This is even more
self-defeating. I'll ask you very simply. Do you have a source? Do you have a legal citation? Do you have a legal citation for a signature being needed to effectuate a legal pardon? Yes or no? You have a source for that?
The opposite, but that doesn't go to.
Do you have a source for that?
Because
yes, no, or I don't know.
Do this. It was a signed document with the Autopen. We didn't have Biden making this declaration.
We're talking about that.
I asked you a very simple question. I asked you a very simple question. Do you have a legal citation for the notion?
You didn't answer his question. Kelly wants to answer all these questions, but won't answer ours.
I don't know what's wrong with your mic, Pentuple. I don't know what's wrong with your mic, Pentuple. Your mic. It's very hard to hear you.
It's about the consent of the president.
Pop.
So I consent of the president. It's a simple question. Do you have a legal citation for the notion that a signature is required to make the pardon valid? What is that citation?
Response? Are you ready for my response? No, because you don't need it. All you need is the consent of the president. What we are challenging here is that there is no consent of the president. An auto-penned piece of paper is not the same as him declaring it. So we have the potentiality here where somebody auto-penned the paper, no presidential declaration or consent. If that is the case, then yes, this is fraud and this is an issue.
Wait, no. But notice your question.
It's a fraud perpetrated on the American people as a whole.
Your question was very simple. I mean, your question was I'm following your question. Your question was if he's unaware that his signature is being affixed.
This is about the consent of the president.
Wait. Let me finish what I'm saying and show how you fucking idiot you are. So you asked me a question, which was Biden aware of...
You've been screaming because you can't even keep it straight.
It's
you can't answer a question.
The irony.
Okay, you are all talking over each other constantly, and no one can understand a word anyone is saying. Let Pisco finish. Go ahead, Pisco.
You confuse people because you think being an attorney makes people confused, but you're not actually making it.
It's really simple. So because they're very reckless with their language, I'm answering the question as asked. He asked, does Biden need to have knowledge of specifics of the formalities of the signature affixation? I say no. He does not have to have any knowledge of the signature process. And so I was answering the question. I was answering the question that you asked.
You've been just randomly.
Wait. You can go back in the VOD. You can go back in the VOD. You can go back. Wait. You can go. You can go over to.
Okay. Enough. Pentuple.
I wasn't done talking. So you can go back in the VOD when you wait.
You and me are both arguing ghosts.
You can go back in the VOD. You can go back in the VOD.
Oh my God, we cannot hear you.
Yeah, Pentuple. This is clear.
In the VOD.
Hold on, just real quick. Pentuple, your mic is...
I mean, we can take turns if you want.
Yeah, your mic, it's not letting you talk, right? It's every time you try to talk over people, it pops and no one can understand what you're saying. I don't know if it's a mic you're using or what, but it's making this conversation really hard. Okay? Pisco, continue.
The point is simple, right? I was answering your question directly. You said if Biden didn't know that his Autopen was being used or his signature was being...
Your mic keeps fucking up every single time that you speak when somebody else is speaking.
Because he's not answering the question. He's doing a dishonest thing.
Hamstringing yourself. Yeah, I know he's doing that, but I'm just saying.
Oh, good. So we know that...
When you're done yapping, I'll be able to speak because it's a Discord issue, like I said. But the point is, if the president was aware and consented to this... I'm not talking about consent to the use of the Autopen. That's not not what anyone's talking about. You're trying to make this distracting legal argument.
Let it make the argument.
Just to be clear, I am perfectly willing to answer your question, and I was going to get to the merits of the meat of what's going on here at the end, but I just want to be clear that you're being imprecise, and I'm showing that to the audience. I don't think that Biden needs to have specific knowledge of how the signature is being affixed. That was your question. He has to have knowledge, obviously, of the pardon to effectuate it. I totally agree with that, but the burden of proof is on you guys. You guys who claim that the pardons, that the pardons are invalid. What is your evidence that he was not aware of the pardons?
We already know that.
I'll respond to that. Hold on, let me respond to that. I don't think that that's how this is actually going to be tested in front of a court. And I'll ask you, Pisco, because I'm not sure about this. I'm just asking you this as a thinking out loud. I think that the way this is going to come up is when somebody who claims to have a valid pardon is prosecuted. Somebody who's on the January 6th committee, for example, say Adam Schiff gets charged and he claims to have a valid pardon. Is the burden of proof on his claim that his pardon is valid?
So we're talking the nature of this discussion right now. In this discussion right now, wait. So first of all, I want to be clear. I want to be clear. I think in that context, it will be the prima facie evidence of a pardon being proclaimed by the president. It'll be up to the Justice Department. In my opinion, it'll be up to the Justice Department to determine the burden of proof there. And you don't have any evidence to counter that. That's my intuition. That said, in the course of this conversation, you're making the claim, correct? And so you have the burden of proof, correct? Do you have the burden of proof?
We already have proof, though. We already have proof.
That's why I just said.
Do you have the burden of proof, or do you not have the burden of proof?
I already have proof of what I'm claiming.
How is this being tested in front of the court, do you think? Do you think Trump's going to sue them?
I'm asking you in the context of this conversation. In the context of this conversation, do you have the burden of proof or not?
Yes, I have all proof. I have proof for everything I claim, though.
So what is
you
your
have no
proof
proof of anything.
Hold on. If Adam Schiff gets charged and he claims to have a valid pardon, is the burden of proof on the claimant there or not?
Wait, I just told you that in the Justice Department. I just answered that question. Wait. Can you I just answered that question.
Test this question.
Oh my God, you're mic.
Wait. So I just answered that question. So you weren't listening, right? You weren't listening. So I'm going to answer the question again. I said in that context, you're not listening, and you have a problem with listening. I've already answered that question, and I'm going to answer it. So I've already answered that question. I'm going to answer it again. I said in that context, I would expect the Department of Justice to have to adduce evidence that shows the invalidity of that pardon. However, I also said it's neither here nor there. Wait, let me finish my fucking sentence. It's neither here nor is it there for the context of this conversation where both of you are making an affirmative claim. Your affirmative claim
absolutely is.
In this context, in this context, the burden of proof is on you, isn't it, to show that the pardons are invalid, correct?
No.
Well, how do you think the court is going to test this, Pisco?
Hold on. Here's the thing. This is why Pisco wouldn't engage with my question earlier. I will answer. See, here's the thing. We already have proof. We have proof. We have eyewitness testimony from Mike Johnson. We have testimony from aides, and this is why I'm saying that there needs to be an open investigation to whether. See, this is really the funny part.
Do we need an investigation? Or hold on.
You just went on a whole rant. You just gishka out for 10 minutes.
You just said we need an investigation.
Hold on. Can I talk? Can I talk? Are you gonna?
Okay, enough. Please. Oh my God, you guys are gonna drive me crazy. Just real quick, everyone. Pentuple, you got to fix your audio, or else this conversation just won't go anywhere. Right? That's job one. It's not letting anyone.
It's a Discord thing.
Okay, give me a second.
It's not a Discord
Let me
thing,
finish.
It's not happening with anybody else.
But we can't keep doing this where we're just yelling over each other. It's not good content. It's not going to work. It's not going to work for the conversation. The question at hand is simply this. And again, Gibbs, you have said that you have evidence.
I have evidence.
Yes, you have evidence. Present that evidence, and then I want to give Nina a chance to talk.
So I have now posted 5 articles in both Discord in our group chat and in our in my group chat, in my regular chat. So there's 5 evidence that we have direct eyewitness testimony from people within the Biden administration and from Mike Johnson, whether or not you want to take him as a partisan actor or not. However, that is still direct eyewitness testimony. It's not hearsay. It's direct eyewitness testimony from people in this administration and Mike Johnson saying Biden was not cognizant of these decisions. Biden said he wasn't aware of it. Now, the argument that Pisco tried to make poorly, I might add, earlier was, oh, well, this is the same as when Trump goes and signs 200 pardons with Autopen. No. The difference is Trump comes out on a speech. Yes, you did. It was terrible. Anyway, Trump comes out and goes, hey, I actually claim to get all these pardons. He goes, I came to get all these pardons done. I got all these guys off. Oh, there's a memo from Obama when he did the Autopen over the plane. We have paper trails for Trump. We have him claiming it. We know that he's cognizant. He's there. What we do know from Biden is we have a claim from multiple witnesses where they're saying Biden didn't know what was going on. They were running it and covering it up. We know that's a fact. We have claims from Mike Johnson saying this guy didn't even know about the pardons. That's crazy because this is a sitting, House member or senator that's saying these things, and he's going, hey, okay, president doesn't know. And we have this evidence. We have evidence. So that's why I'm saying we should have an investigation and see everybody that was covering this up and signing these things as unelected bureaucrats should be put on trial. It's funny that they're all okay with unelected bureaucrats, but then have a problem with somebody like Elon is running stuff. No, it's not irrelevant. It's speaking to your hypocrisy. No matter how many times you want to say irrelevant. You can keep saying it's irrelevant. I'm almost done. I've got 1 sentence. He's literally, you're sitting here being a hypocritic, and you're saying, all these things, and when I bring these up and I point out the American people are tired of y'all gaslighting and we want investigations to say, y'all go, irrelevant. Let me just go and just scream. It is. I mean, that's a terrible debate tactic. You just look like an asshole saying these things. Because I guess this is why y'all lost the election. Because you don't care what the average
election is what we're talking about.
No, I'm just pointing out. I mean, I'm giving a point to why we lost. I mean, I know that you can't answer my question. Once again, my last question is, if there's a grandmother and she's got Alzheimer's, is it fraud if I go start writing checks out of her checkbook?
It depends on the state. It depends on whether it's authorized, right? So if someone with Alzheimer's tells you guys can hear me, right? Wait. So just to be clear, so the rules for mental capacity change between states. Do you agree with that? Yes or no, Gibbs?
Sure.
So if someone with mental decline is authorizing a son or daughter to sign a check, right? And that person is signing checks on behalf of them, then it would, I assume that's your
as the executor, that would be the scenario.
But that could be a very fact-laden, intense scrutiny over to what degree this person has mental capacity, to what degree this person.
So if I write a check for my grandma with my grandmother's money, she got Alzheimer's for a hot tub, that's not fraud.
No, hang on a second. It's different if you're writing checks without any authorization from someone with Alzheimer's, then that would obviously be fraud, right? I would agree with that. Right. But if someone with Alzheimer's is authorizing you to sign checks, it's a more difficult situation.
Yeah, we have a whole system for that.
Yeah, exactly, Nina. And in some cases, those contracts or checks are voidable, but not by themselves void. And so it's more complicated, and it's not an easy yes or no question, which is why
replace part of the checks.
In the kind of messy situation, but really the burden of proof is on you guys, right? The burden of proof is on you guys.
We already have evidence. So hold on. All we've asked for is a little evidence.
Stop.
Let me finish my statement, Gibbs.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
So you just said we, quote, need an investigation.
Absolutely.
So if we need an investigation, is it your position, yes or no, that it's been established that these are invalid pardons?
No, my position, and I will make it very clear.
No?
Hold on. My position, and I haven't claimed, I think they are invalid. That's my thoughts. However, my position is that we have enough evidence that shows Biden wasn't of cognitive mind. So he was no good, bad. He was Alzheimer's, dementia. So we know that. We already have that evidence. So what we need to do is have an investigation to see who was signing stuff and see what he was lucid for, what he wasn't.
If you want to prove that they are valid, you need an investigation.
You need an investigation. Do you not agree with that?
Why are you afraid of an investigation? Do you think that Trump should be also subjected to this as well?
Sure. No. If he's not a cognitive abilities, let's do it. Like, I don't want to fucking Alzheimer's.
Did you see him talking about like how Barron was super cool because he was able to figure out how to turn on a laptop after it was turned off? Like, you don't think that he sounds like a rambling old man? Like, if that's your argument,
weren't you just gargling us for relevancy here, and now you're talking about fucking what the fuck?
Wait, that's relevant.
I'm using
your argument. Okay.
If that's relevant, draw the connection, please.
I don't actually want
I do think Biden's state of mind is
my point is showing how silly your argument is.
Okay.
Yeah,
because your argument was so fantastic. Opening was about, if we're going to invalidate these Autopens, we have to invalidate all of them. we wrote you off immediately.
Do you think because you do like the dumb guy voice that actually makes your argument make sense?
No,
Like, come on, can you actually engage?
word for word.
No, everything she said has been completely relevant. I'm happy to defend it. So she doesn't know what you're going to say before you say it, and so she's preempted in saying obviously it would be stupid to have this kind of blanket rule that auto pens
That's
are
a good
not
defense,
allowed.
Pisco. Very well done.
Hang on a second. She can't predict what you're going to say, and thankfully you don't go to that extreme.
Open.
But it is relevant. It is relevant.
That was the subject of the.
So it is the subject of the debate, 100%. And then to be clear, wait, because you just said what you said is irrelevant. It's perfectly relevant. So now I'm going to talk about what she just said, which was completely irrelevant, which is she asked, would this be a standard that you apply to Trump? And that's relevant, right? If you're going to apply the same standard to another president and their pardons.
What was this Barron Trump thing?
And the whole comparison is, well, what's the quantum of evidence that exists that Biden wouldn't be in the mental state enough to know about his own pardons? And you guys gave evidence of articles of people generally commenting on Biden's decline, which of course does not reach the level of Alzheimer's, just to be clear.
Yeah, one of the arguments was that he tripped.
Yeah, he tripped,
which is an indication.
By the way, what you presented, Gibbs, was not specific evidence towards pardons. He was talking about an executive action. That's what Mike Johnson was talking about. So literally,
what I presented was evidence of cognitive decline.
Yeah. You're speaking in generalities of Biden's cognitive decline, and what Nina presented to you, which is relevant, is evidence of Trump's cognitive decline.
I granted that. Did I not? I said,
Wait, Gibbs. So I just want a yes or no on this question from the blue asshole. Is that relevant? Yes or no?
Yeah, no, but it's not the relevancy. I granted.
Blue asshole, Pentuple.
Don't defend him. Don't defend him.
I mean, hold on, wait. Are you running the panel?
I'm running the panel, so we're going to mute you. We're going to mute
Blue guy,
you.
whatever your name is. Blue guy.
You guys literally.
Wait. Blue guy. I just want a yes or no question.
Yes.
Do you agree, based on what I just said, that what Nina said was relevant? Yes?
No, dude.
So
You're arguing
that
that.
Not relevant.
Okay, you guys removed Biden from the general election ticket. You guys are the ones who conceded, first of all, that he is not well mentally. There's no comparison between Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
We're talking about the what Nina just said being relevant or not being relevant. Now you're talking about how different Biden's cognitive state is.
You guys are defending a system that would allow people to give out preemptive pardons without the president's knowledge.
You're not willing to bite the bullet. So you made an unfair snipe. Isn't Trump's mental state relevant to testing the consistency of your standard? Isn't that relevant, sir?
Pisco, hold on, stop. All of you, stop. I'm going to have to use a lot more fucking moderation than I'd like to. Pentuple, stop talking when I'm talking. So, Pisco, I did ask you a question. Pentuple, I'm going to give you a chance to ask that question. And I'm going to ask Nina and Pisco not to interrupt you while you ask that question, but you got to extend them the same courtesy, right? So we're going to do this. Right? We're going to be a lot more formal because you guys can't handle the casual conversation, so we're going to be a little more formal than I normally am. You were being asked a question. I'll let Pisco repeat it if you need, and I'm going to give you the space and time to answer that question. And then, after you're done completely, we will let others respond, and we will carry on the conversation. Good? Great.
Sure. So Nina raised the issue of consistency of standards, which I think you would agree is totally legitimate to apply in this situation. And what she raised was, well, would you want the same treatment of Trump? And wouldn't, in comparing the standards, blue guy, wouldn't it be acceptable and in fact relevant for Trump's cognitive decline to be a relevant issue to test whether you're being consistent? Isn't that relevant?
Okay. Sure, you guys could do the same thing and make the same claims,
okay. Well, no, he's gonna let him go.
But there's a difference here. But you guys conceded it when you removed Biden from the general ticket. There's no question that everyone in this country knows Biden is not there mentally. We do not have that sort of even remote consensus with Trump. Only his most ardent opposition thinks that he's not mentally well. That's a bit convenient, isn't it? So no, I don't think that it's a perfect comparison, and I don't think it's relevant. I think you could say the same about Obama. I could make the same claim with Obama, of Obama's Autopen, but it's not a good argument. But what we do have with Biden is that he was removed. We have very good consensus that he wasn't really there mentally. We don't have that with Obama. We don't have that with Donald Trump. Sure, if you want to make the argument that we do with Trump, you can. I don't think a lot of people are going to buy that argument. But yeah, as far as consistency goes, sure. But what are we looking at right now? We're looking at the reality. You guys are defending a system where there's a potentiality for people who are in control of the Autopen to give out preemptive pardons without the president's knowledge or consent.
The preemptive nature of it is irrelevant. Wait. The preemptive nature of it is the preemptive nature here is not what we're here to discuss.
That's what we're here to discuss.
We're not here to discuss the issue about whether or not the pardons are preempted
in a very partisan manner. The president.
No, because
that you like.
Oh my God! Nobody can hear what you're saying, my guy.
The issue of this debate is not whether or not preemptive pardons are invalid or valid. Agreed with that, blue guy?
No, that's true. I agree with that. There's a different question. It's separate. But yeah.
Completely different question. So when you say you guys will defend a system of preemptive, it has nothing to do with what we're here to discuss. It has nothing.
You are defending a system that allows this potentiality to occur.
Are we here to debate whether or not we're defending the system that allows for preemptive pardons? That's not what we're here to debate. We're here to debate whether these pardons are valid or not.
That's what it is. Talking about the Autopen controversy in general.
You're defending a system that potentially allows for somebody to use the Autopen as an agent of the president rather than as a directive of the president. That's the problem here. That's the problem we have issue with. He's not an agent of the president making decisions with the president's signature. He can only affix it to things that the president clearly indicates. That's all I care about.
You kind of full circled your ass back into having an issue with the Autopen. You realize what you just did, right?
Okay, here's the difference between a wedding signature and an Autopen. A wedding signature can't be forged. It's self-authenticating. An Autopen requires some sort of a verbal, any sort of directive from the president that indicates that the president consented to his signature being put on that. You can't just put the president's signature on things. You guys are defending a system.
That's not the case. Oh my God, we're going in circles here.
The president's signature onto
You're
things.
like chasing
That's all
a
I'm
car.
saying. No, you haven't been keeping up with anything we talked about in this whole panel, so I'm not really concerned about what you think. But
well, maybe it's because I can't hear you because your fucking mic's so fucked up.
That's probably one of the reasons.
Okay.
Wait, so I just want to be like clear here, right? So I think that the major issue here is whether or not these pardons are invalid. And by the way, when I say
I'm okay with cognitive testing the presidents, by the way, I'm okay with that because I'm not afraid of Trump's
cool.
argument.
That's cool. Thank
that
you.
was the question you asked.
I never fail any of that, so I don't know why you think that you did.
So the question is someone with Biden's state of mental decline, someone who's evincing Biden's state of mental decline, do you think that they have enough cognition in your mind to be allowed to sign contracts and enter into agreements, both of you?
Yes. If there was a directive from Biden, I would not have questioned this at all. All we are asking for is any evidence that Biden was aware of the new law.
You agree that based on your totality of circumstances that you've seen, Biden, from what you just said, is mentally fit enough to sign on to agreements.
Well, I don't agree with that.
Yeah. He wasn't removed from the presidency.
We have a difference of opinion. So Gibbs, you don't agree with that. You think that Biden is not mentally fit enough to even sign a contract or a lease?
He was fit. As a matter of what are we to believe his cognition was? I think
I agree with that. I'm asking that again.
You guys didn't think
wait. But you agree, like that determination, the determination about whether or not he's the most suitable candidate and whether or not he should drop out of the race, that's a different question, isn't it? Then whether or not he's mentally fit enough to like.
Why was he no longer the most suitable candidate?
Wait. Let me actually ask the question.
Why was he the most? Why was he not the most?
Let me actually ask the question, Gibbs.
Well, I'm asking the question.
Let me actually ask the question.
All the questions you want, but I want that question.
I know I can. And I'll give you the question afterwards. So I'm asking Blue Guy, I guess you too as well, which is, isn't the question about whether or not he should be the presidential nominee a different question than whether or not he meets the minimum threshold of competency to sign on to agreements? Aren't those different questions fundamentally? Yes or no?
Sure, but there's still the point that goes to the question of whether Biden was aware of what was going on. If you have to
evidence he was not aware of the pardons. What is your evidence he wasn't aware of the pardons?
I already posted something.
Where? What is your hang on? Because we don't presume things are valid. They're invalid, and you have to prove that they're valid. What is your evidence that it was valid? What is your evidence that
we're talking about?
That's not how it works.
So now we're talking about burden of proof. You're making the claim, right? You're the ones making the claim that the pardons are invalid.
Wait, it's not. The president did not consent to the signature.
Wait. Isn't the burden of proof on you?
Chief of staff,
not what we're making a claim of.
Hypothetical. If the chief of staff affixes the president's Autopen signature to something without the president's consent, is that by default valid?
I would say that without the president's consent to sign something,
that's the question.
Invalid. Yeah, I would say that's invalid. But isn't the burden of proof on you? Wait. Isn't the burden of proof? Isn't the burden of proof on? Wait. Isn't the burden of proof on you?
Blue Guy. Okay.
Hold on. You just accept the burden of proof.
Blue Guy, you have been forging my signature.
What?
You've been forging my signature.
What are you talking about?
You've been forging my signature.
You're forging your signature?
Prove that you haven't forged your signature.
Yeah. Should the burden of proof be on me or on you?
What are you talking about? What is this?
Hold on. I will explain so we don't go into like. Hold on. I will explain. Pretty simple.
I forged a signature of yours on like.
Yeah, I mean this is how our laws work, my guy. I would have to prove that. Right? The burden of proof would be on me. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with me that I would have to prove or have the burden of proof on me For me making the claim that you forged my signature.
Am I trying to hold you to the signature? Am I trying to claim your signature is invalid?
She's making the claim. No. In the example, you can't even follow her hypo. In her hypothetical, which is you guys act so exasperated, like she's saying something ridiculous.
Gibbs, we're gonna give it to him.
It is ridiculous.
It's completely.
She's very cleanly applying.
Gibbs bring up something irrelevant. You're so quick to point it out. Every time Nina says everything irrelevant, you have to figure out.
Irrelevant. What are you just being like dipshit right now?
Hold on.
I'm gonna be honest. It feels very sexist when you're like exasperated at the things she's saying, and like not. It does feel that way. No, it actually 100% does feel that way. So I'm just telling you.
When everyone's listening to this panel, it's not sexist.
No. So because what she said makes complete and total sense. She's applying this principle of burden of proof. She's saying that if it's the case, right? If it's the case that she made an allegation, right? If in this hypothetical world where she made an allegation of you're forging a signature, who would the burden of proof be on? The person making the claim or the person who's,
Hey, you ready, lawyer? You ready? It depends.
Yeah.
It depends. That's a good answer. It depends on 50 million other factors that you didn't give me.
Can you give me? Hold on, just for the sake of conversation.
No, I just
stop,
accused you
all
of it. I'm gonna go take you to court for you forging my signature.
Please, everyone. Gibbs, I see your hand. Stop. Gibbs, stop. Gibbs, I see your hand. We'll get to you in a second. But again, to be clear, to maybe get this off this fucking circle, so we can all be on the same goddamn page, right? Can you give us an example, Pentuple? I'm asking you directly. Can you give me an example where if Nina makes a claim that you forged her signature, right, that you would have to prove that you did not? Can you give us an example of where that would be the case?
Yeah, I could, but I don't. There's no reason for me to spend the time doing that right now. It's not relevant. Look, Pisco dismissed this earlier argument, which was much more relevant, is about how this could actually be tested in court, which is someone claiming you have a valid pardon gets prosecuted. He thought that was totally out of bounds. That's totally irrelevant. But now, what about basic contract law questions? Are you joking?
Wait. So in the contract, so I'm happy to address what you just said. I mean, it's a lot of it's incoherent, but so you brought the example of how will this actually be raised in a court of law, and so I assume in a situation in which the Justice Department is prosecuting an individual, they would have the indictment. The indictment wouldn't mention the pardon, and the initial burden, right? It'd be maybe a burden shifting framework where the initial burden to present a presumptively valid pardon that has been announced by the administration, there would be some threshold to prove that in fact you were pardoned, but that threshold would be a minimal threshold in the court of law, where you just present the pardon, the prima facie valid pardon that has the signature on it that was presented by all accounts the executive branch, and then the burden to shift to show that this was that he's incoherent or mentally incompetent. It wouldn't be like the defendant has to prove that Joe Biden was competent when he signed it. It would be a situation where the Justice Department has the burden to prove that it's invalid, and so that's a situation where I can imagine that the fact of a pardon being some minimal barrier or threshold that the defendant has to prove. What we have here is a different situation. What we have here, what we're talking about is a claim that you made, right? A claim you made in the hypothetical. It's that someone is forging your signature, but in reality now it's that Biden's pardons were invalid. What's your evidence for that? And don't you have the burden of proof?
Well, it's interesting because that's what I want to talk about. And this is the whole point of this. And this is why it's really funny when you were trying to dismiss this earlier, because I've sat here and I said, hey, we need open investigations. Why do we need an investigation? Well, I'll tell you why. Because we already have evidence that Biden didn't know about these pardons and some of these executive orders. We have direct eyewitness testimony. And if Mike Johnson's willing to go up on the court of law and swear under oath that's direct. Listen, you can do all you want, but let me finish. We said we have direct evidence. What I want is an investigation. Hold on.
Everybody, one by one.
How about you let me just finish? Let me finish and we can go one by one. So hold on. We have direct evidence from what's his name, Mike Johnson, that he said it was whatever. We have evidence from reports from aides that he wasn't kidding. So why? Hold on. No, it's not a Gish Gallop.
Let him ask his question. Hold on.
So what I'm asking is real simple, right? I, as an average American, think, hey, if grandma can't sign a check and I sign a check for her, it's forgery 9 times out of 10. Yeah, there's some special exceptions, but if I do it, why would we want, in this case, Biden, who might not be mentally capable, and I will even grant you, let's go mentally test Trump too, I don't give a shit, let's test them all, that we can go test them and see if they're mentally capable. And if he was failing this test, because we also have evidence after the debate, that's part of the reason, a significant part of the reason why they pulled him. We all know that. So we know his mental health was declining, At what point do we have just Bob signing checks for the president and orders? We need to investigate this. And if there is enough evidence that he didn't convict, because here's where the burden of proof comes in. We just need, all we're asking for is either memos stating he knew, maybe we break out the recordings from the Oval Office where he stated on record. Why are you so against them providing recordings of him granting permission for this to be done or having the memos posted? If these things exist, that's what the investigation would cover, and then it would free all this up and we'd all shut up. But y'all are so terrified of this. Why?
Okay, so let's do that. Let's do that with Trump too.
Sure. Okay, cool.
I have an answer. I have an answer for Pisco.
Well, let Pisco respond. Let Pisco respond.
Can we respond to the question?
Yeah,
so first, you're conflating two things. I think both Nina and I would agree there's a certain level of mental incompetence where we would presume any action taken to be invalid because you're not getting the intent required, the volitional act required to effectuate some kind of executive prerogative. So I imagine oftentimes Trump will say, I mentally declassified something, or I did something implicitly in what I do. I mean, all of us, I think, agree that there's some requirement of a volitional act or some kind of knowing and deliberate action for us to, adduce evidence of what's going on here. So when you bring up the grandma example, in a situation in which there really isn't competency for this person to get into any agreement whatsoever, and there's no power of attorney or anything like that set up for you to do something on someone's behalf, and you're just signing checks, that raises an issue where I think, by and large, if you don't have the authority to do something, it is invalid. That said, the whole thing you're trying to prove.
That's what Pentuple just said. He just took the agency.
Let me answer your question.
They do have the authority.
The whole thing that you're trying to prove isn't that in some cases certain actions will be invalid if you reach a certain threshold of mental incompetency. You're trying to prove that he is in fact mentally incompetent, was not aware of these pardons, and you're so terrified of going one by one on your pieces of evidence because standing by themselves it's weak. So when you point to the Mike Johnson, you have this is in actual testimony, eyewitness account. He's not saying that Biden said anything with respect to a given pardon. He's talking about an executive action, and even the fact that Biden would say something like "I didn't know anything about the executive action" should elucidate that he has some mental competency about what he remembers and what does not remember. We have to remember, right? Whatever threshold of mental incompetency we would need to make this voidable, it's got to be a sufficiently high bar. There are a lot of old people in this country.
Did you just say if I don't remember something, that's proof of mental competency? But if they have Alzheimer's, they don't know what happened yesterday.
Did you read the articles you posted? Because I was reading them while you guys were talking earlier.
I've read them.
What their arguments were.
I understand that, Nina. That's not the point. The point I'm making is I'm saying he's mentally incompetent. He's mentally incompetent.
Hold on. Let Gibbs quickly finish. Then we're going to go.
We have direct evidence he's incompetent. I'm okay with testing all these old fucks in Congress.
We have direct evidence that Trump's incompetent.
We don't. But we have direct evidence from Biden in a much more substantial way.
I can't believe I said that.
Than anything that Trump's done or whatever. That's not even a debatable thing. You can say it because you're partisan, whatever. We have evidence from both sides to why we need an investigation. And here's what we're asking.
Why do we need an investigation then?
We've made all these other things. We've unclassified shit before. We've done this. We're asking
do we need an
now
investigation?
at this point, we're asking why are y'all not willing to provide either the written memos or the voice, the recordings of the president, either in transcript form, proving that he ordered this.
Any investigation
Listen, I'm getting finished. I'll tell you why. I'm almost done. I know y'all keep interrupting me, draws it out. All we're asking for is a memo or several memos, and we're asking for some voice recordings or transcripts of those recordings. Proving that he ordered these things, because Trump has come out and claimed these things.
You said he didn't.
We have evidence.
I'd like to challenge Pisco on something legal that we said a few minutes ago before we get too far from it.
On the other side,
Gibbs, I'd really like some evidence that you have not been forging my signature.
I mean, sure. We can also. Can you find one document where I actually forged it in my handwriting or with any kind of discernible skill? Because we know there were Autopen done. Because
why do we need an investigation?
Yeah, we have to investigate Gibbs.
Pisco, go ahead.
Gibbs, you just said that Biden is not mentally competent to sign these agreements.
I agree.
You agree? You said that, right?
And now we need an investigation to prove that.
So if he's not meant, wait, do you need to prove it or is it established?
It's generally established. Yeah, we have evidence of that.
Wait, so you, in your opinion, Biden is not competent to sign agreements, right?
I am not a legal.
Is it established? Yes or no?
Hold on. This is a Will Beasley thing.
I'm not going to get distracted.
If I go up and give an expert testimony, is that enough that I go as a layperson that, hey, gives his expert testimony on Biden's mental inabilities? I mean, my granddad had Alzheimer's, and I can tell that
Gibbs and Pisco, you guys are like the same coin, but like different sides.
Yeah, except I'm correct, and that's why he keeps saying
Gibbs, let Pisco ask his question.
Answer the question. The question is simple,
Yeah,
right?
cool.
Has it been established that Biden is not mentally fit to sign agreements?
It has been established that he was mentally incompetent and not able to do stuff, and we need to investigate it further. So we have evidence of that. He couldn't face trial, so like that's a good point. Yeah.
So if it's been established, what evidence could be produced that would change your mind about that?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, we would need to look into that and see what evidence y'all could produce.
Wait. I'm asking you right now.
So it hasn't been established.
I don't know.
So
we're going to cover 6,000 possibilities.
No. He's so scared to get on this point because it crushes him. If it's been established, that he's not mentally capable enough to have agreements, by your own words, that's been established. What evidence would change your mind in an investigation?
Here's the cool thing about being an intelligent individual.
I
will answer.
Let him answer it. Let him answer it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm an intelligent enough individual that if there's substantial enough evidence that I was wrong, I'll bite a bullet on that. I'll go, okay, cool. It looks like he was cognitive.
What would that evidence look like?
I don't know. This is maybe where you can call me Weasley. I don't know what that evidence would look like. However, there is a burden of proof that I would like to meet but I am not some all-seeing God, despite me being prophetic and always being right. I am not some all-seeing God that can just look into these reports and see what it is. However, with the substantial amount of evidence that we have currently of his cognitive decline, I am predisposed, based off what I have observed and what I have researched, that he is on the decline to the point that I don't think he was
he's getting old.
able to do
what do you mean?
Exactly. So if he was in cognitive decline and he was not aware of these decisions,
what are you talking about?
Then those absolutely should be null and void.
Why are you saying if?
We didn't
know
if. Because not the legal standard
you said it's
to
established. You
prove
can't say
his
if.
incompetence.
Okay.
Are you arguing that what Gibbs is what we should apply to
we
all
have
law
other people.
in regards to
We have other people
Well,
who
you're
want
arguing
to.
that.
Hold on. We have other people.
No,
who want
I'm asking for an investigation to prove it.
We have other people who want in.
Everybody.
Okay, we have other people who want in, so I want to give the mic to the other people. Nina, you haven't got a chance in a while. We're gonna give it to Nina, and then Pentuple, you can ask your question. I know you're jonesing for it. So Nina, you haven't had the mic in a while. Here you go.
I didn't really have anything directly. I think that you're being very silly right now, Gibbs, with all of this shit, because you know that you're calling me partisan, which, classic bullshit where you just don't like
I agreed with you. I said
Biden, so you just want to shit on him because you want to win this argument or whatever. Like, but you know you're being silly. Come on, like really, like
how,
you
Nina,
really
how am I
think
being
that
silly
any
when
of
I
this
said let's hold it
because
the
you're,
same
you're completely inconsistent. You're completely inconsistent with your logic. Pisco's been very obvious about the way that he's showing that how you're inconsistent with your logic. Like, yeah, you just admitted to being weaselly.
No,
you little weaselly little liar, bro. Like, what?
I'm not being weaselly at all. I'm saying consistent to my point.
You're weaselly as fuck, bro.
How would I agree with you?
So let me ask this. Hold on. Gibbs, if there was an article, perhaps in a news organization, where Biden is quoted saying he was planning to do these pardons, would that be enough for you?
Yes.
No. Good question.
For me, it would.
No and yes.
Can I go to? I just wanted because I want to talk to Pisco about a point we made like 20 minutes ago. Okay. But you were talking about when we bring this in court, right? And it's like, okay, you have to produce evidence of your pardon, and they would just produce this written auto-penned pardon. But like we had both agreed earlier, the pardon's not actually about the writing. The president could declare a pardon. It doesn't actually have to be in writing. Right. So all we have for evidence of it is the auto-pen writing. But what we actually need evidence of is the president's consent and knowledge. So a tweet would actually suffice. If Biden had tweeted out that he wanted to do these pardons, that would have been good enough to me. What we're saying is that this auto-pen pardon is not proof of the president's knowledge and consent, and that's the issue. It's all about that issue.
Hang on a second. That you just fucked yourself, because if you say that a tweet is enough from if you say
I'm saying a tweet could be a clear enough. Well, okay, sure. You caught me. You caught me. Hold on, Pisco. Let me finish.
You just stepped out of mine, and I want to show it to the people.
You caught me if you challenge whether the tweet was actually penned by them, but assuming the tweet was, I'm saying we need a clear indicator directly from the person. Well, okay, sure. If that's the hypothetical, yes, you're right. You got me on that point.
Pisco, go ahead.
What I am saying. No, hold on. The point I'm making to you is that the question of evidence here is the consent and knowledge of the president, not the writing. The writing is not solely evidence of this consent and knowledge. That's the problem.
So here's the issue, and I'm definitely going to address. I agree, it's the issue of.
If we don't have this paper, how do you? Okay, here, let me ask you this question. Let me flip it. If we don't have this paper, how do you prove?
You're not to make this point. I'm going to make it no matter what. So, but go ahead.
How do you prove that Biden authorized these pardons without this auto-pen signature? Do you have anything else?
How do you prove that Trump has not done that? Like, this is insane.
Let's give it to Pisco. Pisco really wants to make this.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm happy to make so first of all, the burden of proof is not on me, but I will address your argument about why I think there's prima facie evidence to suggest that these pardons had the effect that they did. Number one, there is, as Wick was suggesting with the question, I don't know, like that should have been a signal to you. There is reporting that he was discussing this and debating all of these pardons internally, and I don't know why you don't credit those reports.
No, because it's not right. Because Biden could go on and have plenty of discussions about potential pardons. That doesn't mean he's consented to the final decision. Nina, shut the fuck up. You don't know anything. You were the least prepared for this panel, and you're fucking hammered. Shut up.
Based off of what?
So the report, there is reporting that indicates that they were having these discussions and ultimately arrived at a conclusion that the president made. I mean, that reporting exists. You can deny it if you want to, but that reporting exists. That's number one. Number two, the fact that this actually came, from the president. If you can provide other instances, it came from his office where, the president was like affirmatively not involved in that decision, then maybe you could make that argument for these particular pardons. But I think that prima facie, something that comes out of the president's office, I'm going to assume came from the president. Same thing with Trump. I don't imagine that Trump wrote down every law or every executive action. In fact, I pretty much know he didn't. He certainly didn't read all these executive actions that are being tossed in front of him. But when he signs them and they have the force of law, the presumption is he knows about them. He knows what's in them, and that's a presumption that you have to rebut. So there's and by the way, you said it's self-authenticating to have a signature. I don't know what the force of law is on that, but another.
Well, that's just federal rules of evidence, right?
Other evidence that's self-authenticating is official public releases of documents. Those are self-authenticating as well.
Sure,
a presidential pardon, even with an Autopen, is self-authenticated in the same way, on the same basis, under the federal rules of evidence. And so,
what are you trying to authenticate? What are you trying to authenticate? The pardon or the validity? I'm not going to forget my point.
I'm not going to forget my point, which was you just said that if he tweeted something about it, I think that would do that would do the bill. But
if we knew that he had tweeted it,
but the truth is, if he had tweeted something to that effect, and he has made public statements about those pardons, if he did that, you'd just be like, well, he didn't write that. And
we could accuse him of that. Yeah, we could accuse him of that. That would be a claim.
Yeah, so
no, that's not an inconsistency. That's a good point,
Like,
Pisco, but it's not an inconsistency. Nina, shut the fuck up, please.
Why are you being so fucking rude to me? Can we have some decorum here?
That is a
I don't know why you're being so
question.
rude.
Yeah, why are you being
Why
rude?
the fuck are you
It's
being
just
so
annoying.
rude
She's
to me?
making no sense. It's just it's so annoying.
And
Her entire presence here is
femme people, I
pointless.
guess. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Hold on, just real quick.
My-
The entire presence of everyone on this panel is because I invited them, okay? Everyone is here because I specifically invited you, okay? Now, you may not like the other guests. I don't always like the guests I invite. That's true.
I love it.
Right? But come on. Continue. Renee.
Yeah, I understand what you're doing. You're appealing to the sexist cope because you know that you're getting blown the fuck out by Pisco right now and us together, and that's just how you have to handle it because you were like.
Am I allowed to keep this VOD on Twitch? Is there issues with this?
Why?
What's the problem?
Yeah, what's wrong?
Can't even speak.
She's speaking. What are you talking about?
Are you talking?
Yeah.
I have
She's
a
who cares? I don't care.
All right, let's go. The question that I think that what this really boils down to is that, and I agree with you on anything that shows evidence of Biden's knowledge and intent. I think that's the issue. Whether we dive through all this, would you agree with me that if somehow we both came to the conclusion based on public evidence that Biden had no idea that these pardons were signed with his Autopen, that you would agree they're not valid? Because then I think we have the same position ultimately, if you would agree with that.
I think there's a nuance there. So in general, I would agree with that. But if, for example, and Gibbs brought this up before, and I wanted to, or either one of you did, and I think it's an interesting point. If I had evidence that he had cognition that he was signing something, right, that would be sufficient enough as well, right? If you sign up to the terms and conditions of iTunes, right, you probably don't have full awareness of all the terms therein, but you kind of assume the risk when you sign something. So I would say there's two ways in which I would say that. Wait,
let him finish and then Gibbs.
Yeah, if he had direct knowledge of his signature where he said, yes, okay, I'll sign whatever this is. I don't really know what's in it. I don't know who's being pardoned, but I'll sign it because, whatever pardons, I trust you on the advice. I'm just going to pardon them. That would be enough for me. He wouldn't need to know the specifics of the actual pardons themselves. But if he is not
legally
involved
you're
at
wrong
all
on that.
Wait,
the OLC in 2005 declared that is not the case.
Let it finish. I want to ask a question when he's done.
You should read the 2005 Office of Legal Counsel opinion on that because you're wrong.
Wait a second. So you think the president couldn't? You think
the president would need a lot more specifics than that, what you just described, yes, and that's clearly indicated in the opinion.
Wait a second.
Yes.
So you think the president couldn't issue a pardon to the effect of this? Everyone who's involved in January 6 type activities, everyone around, in that vicinity who's involved in any crimes against the United States, they're all pardoned. You would say that is not. There would have to be a breakdown of those pardons. The president could not say, "Hey, go pardon people on January 6th. Don't bother telling me which or who. Just the people associated. If it's associated with January 6th, that's essentially giving agency through the Autopen, which is what the OLC has said is not allowed. You are not allowed to provide agency in the OLC memo.
OLC 2005.
I'll look it up.
Yes, I'll send it to you. I can look it to you. Me and Admiral Gibbs.
Okay, while you guys are looking that up, let's give the mic briefly to Gibbs to make.
Yeah, I'll ask Nina this as well. I'll let her answer first, honestly, then Pisco, because Pisco brought up something really interesting just now, listen, I'm not going to argue the legal theory that Pentuple's arguing or whatever, but he brought up the iTunes thing. And this is actually very interesting to me. I'm not even going to say he's wrong because he's actually correct on this part, but this is maybe the scariest part. I don't know if this actually applies. I don't know what all the legal precedent for this would be. But Nina and Pisco after, do you think that you really want to work on the basis of the president signing the executive orders in the same manner of Autotune and that being sufficiently understanding what he signed? Is that the precedent that y'all actually want going forward? Like, not just the actual legal.
I assume you mean iTunes?
iTunes, yeah, iTunes. Is that the legal precedent y'all want going forward? That he could just sign something, not understand it, but if it was in the thing like contract law, like an iTunes agreement, that y'all are okay with that? Like for every president going forward.
Well, he's just using it as an example. I don't think that was like
that specific example.
That's
right. No, I'm not saying it's 1-to-1. I'm saying let's just say it is a 1-to-1. Is that something you want as a legal precedent going forward, like for presidents?
For presidents that they just
signs executive orders like an iTunes contract. They don't even know what's in it, but or they're not even maybe possibly mentally able. But since they signed it, they had some idea they were.
Well, generally, the idea behind
that,
right, is that you have a general idea of what you're signing. It's like you're supposed to kind of summarize it. Obviously, Pisco would have a better answer than I do because he's a lawyer and I'm not.
I'm not trying to.
But the idea is that I don't think that's a problem. Like, do you really want every single thing that ever happens in front of the president's desk to be mega litigated every single time? That seems a little silly, right? How would we do anything?
No, I would want him to know a Cliff Notes at least version of every bill.
Right, exactly, and that's exactly what he's talking about when it comes to the
iTunes agreement.
Do you guys realize that we do typically have this paper trail that you're arguing we don't have? We do typically have memos, we have memorandums, we have briefing notes, we have memos.
I know you hate that I'm speaking because you hate me or something, but you're being silly.
No, I'm just embarrassed.
I'd like to answer. Okay, well, anyway, I would like that. So you go ahead. Is that a person you want going forward?
Again, I'm not the lawyer because I'm speaking.
Let Nina finish for a moment. My God, you guys are all, every single one of you. Okay. Nina, finish.
No, I was gonna go ahead and give my time to Pisco.
I think it's so. The question is, to what level of specificity does the president need to know what he's signing when he signs it? Right. So. In my opinion, right, if the president has been vested with executive authority, and I do agree that the president, by necessity, constitutionally, is allowed to delegate that authority. And if the president entrusts, for example, his Secretary of State to write some kind of memorandum about a foreign policy situation, and he has entrusted that part of his power to make that discretion to the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of State comes up here, sign this, it's really important, I don't have time to explain it, and he signs it, I do think that has the force of law. The president made a conscious, volitional decision to trust his Secretary of State person. He's invested that Secretary of State person with the authorities related to whatever that's going on. And so I would say that, and I expect, by the way, that what his actual practice is, Trump doesn't have a fucking clue of half of these executive orders that he's signing. When you show him on the table just signing random shit, he doesn't even know what these are all about.
Yeah, but he has a guy have to tell him about it.
I wouldn't.
What are you making that claim based on? That's obviously false.
Based on
that's obviously false. You know that presidents are briefed, right? You know that every president get briefings on all of these things. You're really suggesting that you don't think, based on what, that President Trump was unaware of what these executive orders were until he was signing them. What are you saying? Why would you make that claim when you know it's nearly impossible to prove?
Well, let him.
Yeah, I mean you can, but
it.
it's just I've already discredited you in my mind. It's just such a
okay. Well, let him.
I don't think we care what you think.
Let him provide the evidence. Okay.
You think it's
really care what Jack Daniels thinks.
You think it's a stupid claim for someone looking at Trump, his body language, the questions that he's asking about what these executive actions do. You think that it's a stupid claim for someone to be like, he might not know what's inside those executive actions.
Yes, I think that's a dumb claim. Yeah, when he's literally reading them there. Yeah, it's pretty fucking retarded. Yeah.
Do you think he's read every single one of his executive actions?
No, that's not the claim here.
Okay.
That's not the claim here. He knows what he's signing. He knows what he's signing. Can he recite them from memory? No, he cannot recite them from memory. We're not. It's not the debate. We're debating.
He has not drafted them. He has not drafted them.
Okay, Pisco, let me ask you about your earlier hypothetical.
No, because
I was going to entertain your hypothetical. I'm not attacking you.
You attacked me, so I'm going to.
Yeah, I know you love attacking me.
Yeah.
Well, you're hammered. It's easy.
First of all, you have Gibbs on your side. Gibbs sounds like a fucking idiot every time we talk. No, sorry, ricochet shot, but it's
Gibbs
true.
was cooking. We're doing an investigation because you guys need it. We need it for you
guys.
Great.
We've all called each other retarded. We've gotten that out of the way. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Now we can really talk.
So to be 100% clear, we know where some of the language from a lot of these executive actions are coming from. They're coming from the Heritage Foundation. They're sometimes ripped directly from Project 2025's team. They're written by Russ Vaughn and other people. No, it's 100%.
Why do you discredit yourself like this? Like, you were doing well, and now you just say shit like this. Like, how am I ever supposed to take you seriously, dude?
So these executive
orders straight out of Project 2025, copy paste. Like, why do you say that?
You sound like you're fucking wasted. What the hell are you doing?
So let me give you an example. Russell Vaught, he is now the head of the Office of Management and Budget. So he is in charge of a lot of the global affairs of the administration, and he was involved intimately with Project 2025. A lot of these executive actions that relate, for example, to the spending freeze, to the freeze on foreign financial assistance, those come directly from his writings in Project 2025. So when I say what I'm saying, I know what I'm talking about, and it is the case. It is the case that we know that Trump is not fucking drafting these documents. He might generally have an idea once he reads the title of it what it means, but he doesn't have a sophisticated knowledge of what's in these. And I can.
You really going to suggest that it's surprising that a 922-page document produced by a Republican think tank has some overlap with a Republican president? Is that really shocking? You're like, oh my God.
Wait, and he's done
everything in that document.
To be clear,
it's so dumb, dude. It's so beneath it, and it's off topic. When you were the one that was relevance gating earlier.
All you motherfuckers, stop. Let Pisco answer the question. Once he's finished, I'll let you respond. We'll go to Gibbs, then we'll go to Pentuple. Go ahead.
So I'm not commenting on the overlap other than to say that the overlap shows that it's not being crafted from the head of Zeus, from Trump himself, that we know that we actually can source where some of these executive actions come from in terms of who is drafting them, okay? So
that's
you got so triggered.
You got about the authority of implementing.
Let him finish. My God. Okay.
It is relevant. So you got so triggered when I say Project 2025 because you thought I was making a political statement on Project 2025.
It's like the biggest cell phone ever.
Because you're like a trigger.
You the election.
You're like a triggered SJW. You hear a word.
That's what I was thinking.
You're a triggered SJW. You hear a word like Project 2025, and you can't control yourself. What I'm talking about isn't the nature of the Project 2025 and whether it's good or bad. I'm saying that we can actually track a lot of these executive actions and who drafted them and who wrote them, and there's reporting about who the principal authors are. All to go to the point that we know that Trump doesn't have a sophisticated knowledge of the ins and outs of these executive actions to address Gibbs' question, which was, to what degree of knowledge do we need to have of presidents for the executive actions? And I'm telling you, I have a pretty, I give a lot of discretion to presidents to trust their advisors. And if they're presented with a fucking document to sign and they're knowing about what and signing it and they're trusting their agents to tell them the truth, that's part of being the exeective. And so I'm going to assume.
So you like Elon Musk then?
Hang on a second. No, there's separate problems with Elon Musk that have nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Unelected bureaucrats making decisions and recommending advice to the president.
We're trying to go on 20 different tangents. Pisco's got to finish. Land your plane, Amelia Earhart. Then we'll give it to Gibbs.
So the answer is this: that if the president is making a decision to trust his advisors and just signing something in front of him, yes, I am going to assume the validity of that document, and I'm yet to see see any place in this. I've been scrolling through it. This OLC memo that says the president needs to have knowledge of every particular person that is affected by his pardon. I don't know where that comes from.
Okay,
All right,
Gibbs, go ahead.
So yeah, I got to respond to a couple things. One, Pentuple's absolutely right. There is overlap with Project 35, and that's because, it's a 900-page document, and they put all these goals forward. Now, Trump, and here's a big thing that Pisco is kind of leaving out, had a thing called Agenda 47. That was what he was going to do. That's what he said he was going to do. And if you go look at Agenda 47, all these executive actions and all the stuff that he's done, he's pushed legislatively, all these things, they all, coincidentally, line up with the things on Agenda 47. Now, let's talk about Hunter. Let's talk about Biden. And Hunter Biden. He said he wasn't going to do some things. Said he wasn't going to pardon people. He goes back on his word. Now, hold on. Hold on. I know. I'm not arguing you, Pisco. I, as a corrupt, self-interested man, if I was president and my son was going to get charged with a crime, you bet your sweet ass I would have pardoned him right off the jump. Not even going to argue that. However, this is my point, though, is that in conjunction with all these other things, like that we have evidence of him not being cognitive there, then suddenly he goes back on his word and then preemptively pardons a whole swath of people. Seems very unlike hard-on-crime Biden, the author of the crime bill, would do.
I said that was impeachable. Wait, but by the way, did you know that I said that was impeachable when he did that?
Pisco, I'm not. You're fighting a ghost. I'm not saying you said this, okay? I'm just saying, whenever we sit here and do these things, hey, I want an investigation to see if this guy even knew what the fuck was going on. And we have enough evidence that I think an investigation is warranted. And whenever we go, hey, this is the standard of evidence we want to see, some memos, some reports, whatever, y'all are going, oh, lordy, that's crazy. Like, I don't understand why that's so scary to you. Like, if Trump was doing this, y'all would also want evidence. I said I was okay with the standard Nina put forth with, hey, let's cognitively test them. Why are y'all like, why is this suddenly this run away from these things? And then you want to argue about Elon Musk. This is why it's not a miscellaneous, unrelated thing. Oh, Wick, to your point, is that we are arguing, hey, we don't like unelected bureaucrats potentially running the office as the president because he doesn't know what's going on, and they're just signing orders with Autopen, and then Biden's like, sure, I signed it, doesn't know. That's a problem. We want an investigation into that, and then y'all are going to sit here and have the audacity saying that's fine, but hey, we have issues with Elon Musk, who's an advisor.
The debate is not about our. The debate is not about our
hypocrisy. And
the debate is not about our favored array of government actors and whether or not.
So you don't want the same standard.
But we're not here to discuss.
No, the reason why we was bringing up the same standard is just because of the fallacy of your argument.
No, because I'm doing the same standard for both. I agree to your standard. Why wouldn't you want to agree to that?
Yeah, but
standard?
your friend doesn't. So that's
Pentuple, do you not agree with the statement I put forward? Did you want Trump mentally cognitive test to prove that he was fine, like, or all presidents in general?
Person, camera, woman.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like, yeah, sure. Yeah, okay, cool. Fair. Every president going forward, let's cognitively test him. He's cool with that. Like, okay, what's your problem with that? Well, okay, if we want to prove it to Martin, we have the spoken records or the memo put forward. Do you have a problem with that being the policy going forward with every president? Pentuple,
so you think that we should look into all of his pardons?
If he's either
sure,
like, listen,
if you want to suggest that he had no idea, didn't sign
but if he goes, hey, I'm going to
sign
pardons for everybody involved in this, and then he signs the first one,
yes.
and then 200 are signed by Autopen, I think that's sufficient enough evidence he intended to sign all those pardons, as opposed to Biden going, I would never do this.
Okay,
then suddenly there's a bunch of preemptive pardons issued.
Does Trump need to know the names of every single Jan 6er that he pardoned?
I would argue he probably does need to hear them or be briefed on them at some point.
He needs to hear the names.
I would argue. He needs to be briefed on it.
So
Yes, he needs to be briefed on the pardons.
Wait, you're
Okay,
admitting? You just admitted that you know that he doesn't know their names?
I don't even understand.
He issued pardon to people that he doesn't know their names.
He doesn't know their. Come on, you think he knows all 1,500 people's names or heard them? That's a ridiculous standard.
He needs. Okay, I know you haven't read the
OLC
opinion I sent you, but when you read it, Pisco, you will understand that there is a level of specificity required. Nina,
okay, can we?
Please,
hold on. Hold on.
You have to engage in that. This is unfair.
Which you will read later. The OLC opinion suggests and shows that there is a level of specificity needed. So it's not a broad.
I'm asking you a question. Do you think?
I don't care about your question.
Think that? Yeah, I know you don't care about my question, but you're gonna have to answer. You're gonna debate with me, motherfucker. So deal with it.
Go ahead. All right, here. Let's hear it. Let's hear this.
Do you think that it is important for Trump to know the names of the people he pardoned?
I think it's important for him to be briefed on it. Yes.
That's crazy, bro. Because he doesn't know them.
Yeah. He doesn't
But he
memorize
doesn't.
them.
So
No,
that's
he doesn't
not a
memorize
problem,
them.
James?
No,
To hear them?
There's a difference between
Oh, so
memorizing
you
them
think that
and
he's
when
not?
you're in.
I didn't say memorize. I didn't say you're moving
When
the
you're
goalposts,
being briefed,
motherfucker.
yes, I argue yes. When he's being briefed on these pardons, and when they're going through the process of doing this pardon
You
process by
admitted
the
that he doesn't
executive.
know the names of any of them. You started off
What
with
do you
saying
mean by
that.
no? Do you mean by memorize? Is that what you mean, or do you mean
Hold
that he
on.
heard them when they were?
Hold
doing
on,
the
let me
process?
ask because
I
now I'm
think-
confused. Pentuple. Is it your claim that Trump was told the names of all 1,500 individuals on January 6th?
I would expect that as a part of the pardon process that he was engaged in, that yes, he probably
Do you
heard
not
those
think
names.
it's
That's
All of them,
wild.
yes.
I-
to know what they did?
wild.
Why is that wild? Why is that wild?
What, do you not think it's important to at
didn't
least
happen.
have a consideration for
Based
what
on what? Why are you? How do you have evidence that that didn't happen? Based on what?
Because I know Trump's character, and because there's no reporting that he sit down and listen.
What do you know Trump's
and that he
character
sit
based
down and
on?
listen. Wait a second. So we should have an investigation, shouldn't we, to find out whether or not he actually heard audibly
Right.
the names of all those people?
No,
right?
no. Here, let me try to put
yeah.
it different.
No.
right? That's the standard
Oh,
you're running.
we could have a question about whether he. Okay, the point is this.
Isn't the burden of
Yeah,
wait,
the
isn't the
president-
burden- isn't the burden
So
of proof
dumb.
on you? Isn't the burden of proof on you
This is
to
so
show that he
dumb.
did hear them?
Yes.
Wait. Isn't the burden of proof to show
For
that
this
he did hear them?
hypothetical that you've asked me, sure, but what you're ignoring is
not
a
hypothetical.
legitimate legal opinion from 2005 that I'll reference over and over and over again that states there is a level of
2005.
specificity required by the
We're not
president
talking
before he
about-
signs
so I
things.
agree with- so
Before
I
his
agree with
signature
you.
can be affixed,
I've seen
there
some of the
are
litigations.
Yes,
To
it
your
cannot
point,
be as
right?
vague as you're describing.
I mean, there's
It
only
cannot be
one
pardon
litigation
everyone
there's
related to
not
Jan
some.
6. No. Trump more than likely heard every single name as a part of this pardoning process when they engaged in it. It probably took over the course of weeks.
wild.
What do you mean? Why do you
There's
say
no
that?
way.
How do you possibly
How
make
do I
that
say
claim?
that? Look, this is how it
You cannot
probably
challenge
happened.
us to not have
Pentuple,
claim of
Pentuple, real quick.
Biden's
You know how it
ability, the fact that
probably
he didn't
happened?
know, and then suggest
You-
something
Pentuple,
like this.
Pentuple,
It is
please.
so
Oh,
discrediting.
please.
It is so discrediting.
Hold on. You know how this probably happened? He was told, Trump probably said, I want to pardon all the January 6ers. Write up a name of all the January 6ers. Give them pardons, and I'll sign them. That's probably what happened. And they said, yes, sir. And he did that. And he had no idea who he was, because otherwise...
Why do you say that, Wick?
Well, hold on.
Why do you
Hold
guys
on.
discredit yourself
Well,
like this?
hold on,
Why
hold
do you
on,
make
hold
this
on,
claim
hold on,
based
hold
on absolutely fucking nothing? Why?
Let's make a question. Hold
It's
on,
just
wait,
so
wait.
dumb. It's like it's
No, no,
literally. I say this all the time. Leftists pretend they're in the building. Like you cannot make that claim and expect to be taken seriously,
Wait,
right?
hold on. Let me ask you a question. Wait, let me ask you
You
a
literally
question.
said your evidence
You
was on your
think
team's
that you know
character.
everything
That
about
is like
Biden, my guy.
wait,
What do you mean?
low IQ argument
Hold
you
on,
could possibly
hold on.
respond with.
Okay.
Get up. I can be better than you, so...
Wait, can I ask you? So here's my question.
Briefly.
Rick. So let's just engage in your hypothetical.
I
right?
shouldn't have jumped in, but...
No, you're fine. You're fine. I actually, this is actually something I wanted to get to, so I'm happy you did this. Right. So, all right, let's just say that's the metric. Say that Trump, like you've already you stated this yourself specifically, Wick, that you were okay with the people around Biden. That's like okay because he delegated them. He thought you liked the people around him, et cetera, et cetera. All right, let's just.
You know what Biden never did? He never added someone to a reporter to a group chat where they leaked war plans. That's something Biden never did.
Sure. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Now, okay, whether
So
or not
yes,
that's bad,
I am okay.
Sure.
I am more okay
so-
with Biden's team than I am with Trump's team. That's
Sure,
true.
that's fine. But the argument could be made, right, that these are his people around him, correct? These are his people advising him. Yes, we agree.
Yeah,
so
he
far?
had advisors.
People?
That's-
Okay. So
that's
yeah,
true.
no, trust people
What's your
around.
question?
So now here's my argument.
You trust
Now,
him to
Trump-
not steal women's
Hold
luggage?
on. So this is my question. So let's just compare these one to one.
You know.
Trump goes, I want to pardon all the Jan 6ers, right? Now, whether he meets the standard where he has a brief where he's got all the names, whether he read it, I don't give a shit. But his goal is, I want to pardon all the January 6ers. And he tells his aide to go do this. And his aide comes back and brings him a list, and he signs with the first one or whatever. And then the rest
we
are all
think it's
done by,
valid.
hold on, by
we're
automatic.
being consistent.
I know.
Wait,
Pisco.
yeah,
I know.
that's
Hold on.
fine.
I'm asking you. So like this. So Wick, that's
fine.
fine.
That's
I
fine.
understand it.
Yeah.
But now, here's the thing. Now, say Trump had come out previously said, I will never pardon these people. And then somehow, suddenly, while there's questions about his decline, he pardons people after saying he would. Would you argue that, hey, maybe we should look into this and see when there's already questions surrounding their mental capabilities, whether or not these are done on behalf of the president or it was a shadow staff around him doing things?
Okay, that's not sufficient evidence to show he had no
That's fine.
cognitive
No, but it's enough to
knowledge.
investigate, correct?
It's not.
I
You think
want
we
to.
should
I
look
want
at
to take
No.
that though. I think it's a beautiful thing you just said because I want to apply the standards that you're applying to Biden onto you guys, and for both of what you just said. So one is, I think that if you're applying the standard that we need to prove the pardons are valid beyond the prima facie fact of the pardon document itself and the public declaration of it, if we need to prove that it's valid for Biden vis-a-vis his mental cognition and his awareness of the document, surely you have the burden of proof to show that he heard all the 1,500 names, blue guy, right?
What is it? Okay. What if it's in a brief? Like, what if it's just in the document?
Wait. I just want.
Why is it like mind blowing that they could go through 1,500 names?
No, I'm
like,
asking
why is that
who
mind
the burden
blowing?
whether it's mind blowing or not, I'm asking, isn't the burden of proof on you to show it?
Well, yeah, we could just show the audio tapes from the presidential office or the memo.
Show that he heard.
We would be okay
that
with
he
that.
heard all the wait. He said that it was required that Trump at least hear one time the different names of the Jan 6 partners. My question isn't it on you, the burden of proof on you, to show that he actually did hear all those names, and that if you were in court,
that's the same argument that we're making about Biden, bro. Holy shit, we are agreeing.
That's the point.
Wait, that's my point. Wait, let him answer the question, Gibbs. So the question is as follows, and I'll repeat it one more time because you keep interrupting. If it's the case that it's a requirement that Donald Trump have heard audibly at least once every single name of the various people who are being pardoned.
That's not what the opinion says.
Well, but he's given us the win.
That's an example of specificity. Yes, I was responding to you about what level of specificity is required. The OLC opinion would suggest, Pisco, the OLC opinion would suggest that yes, he needs to be aware to that degree. Hearing 1,500 names in a briefing is not mind-blowing shit.
Wait,
it's not that crazy.
You just agreed with us because we're saying we would want that standard.
Pisco, let Pisco finish his train. Let Pisco finish his train.
So you just said in your opinion it's required that he have heard all these 1,500 names, and just like it's required. What? You just said
I'm not saying the specific. The OLC opinion requires that he hears the names of everyone when they're pardoned. That is not what it says. What it says is there is a level of specificity required, and it's in the opinion.
You just said that you think that someone would need to have heard the names.
You asked me if I think that Trump would have had to heard the names to meet the level of specificity required by the OLC, and I think yes, probably yes. Yeah, I do think so. Based on my interpretation, you might disagree when you read the opinion, but you haven't.
Right. So according to your standard, isn't the burden of proof on you to show that he actually heard them?
Depends how it's being challenged, Pisco, which is why my earlier argument about how this is challenged is very relevant.
Let me give you an
come
example.
Into a prosection and claim a valid pardon. I don't know what you're claiming where we are challenging pardons as a blanket.
Okay.
So let's actually get the example. So imagine that someone after Trump administration, new administration comes and they try to charge one of these Jan 6ers and they say that pardon was invalid because Trump didn't hear the name. Whose burden of proof would it be to show that Trump didn't hear the name?
Okay. Assuming it was Autopen and it was the similar thing, they would have a burden of proof. Yeah, it does matter. Yeah, because when you have the wedding signature, that is self-authenticating. But the difference here is you don't have
document. So is a public document.
No. But here with Trump, you have a plethora of evidence. I would be very, very happy to be the lawyer on that team because I could very much quickly provide you plenty of evidence that shows that Trump intended and wanted to do this. The fact that you don't have any Biden is damaging to your case.
That he heard the name.
Why are you harping on this? This is my opinion. In response to your question, that's not a standard that's been established.
I'm going to help out. I'm going to help out. Stop, both of you. All of you stop, right? Because you guys are missing each other, and I don't know why. I'm going to be the retard translator here. I'm going to be the retard translator, and I'll let you decide which one's the retard here. Okay? I'm not going to make any statements on that. I'm staying neutral in this. But here is the question that is being asked, right? The statement in the document you provided, right, or the source, the case that you provided says there has to be a level of specificity. When it was interrogated, what level of what is the standard and what meets that standard? You mentioned and you said several times, Pentuple, that your standard is that they have to have heard the names, right?
My reading, okay.
Yeah, no, I know. You've said it. You've said it. We know. We got it. We get it. We can move past.
You're explaining it slightly incorrect, but okay, go ahead.
How?
Yeah, what was incorrect about what I said?
Because I'm saying the standard as my interpretation. You're asking me on the cuff. Do I?
You are here. I'm asking your interpretation.
That's not a standard. The standard written in the OLC opinion. That's just That's just my immediate answer.
Do you think your standard's a good one or a bad standard?
I think it's probably good. I think it would probably be fair to say, but also you could probably convince me otherwise. It's Go ahead and test it.
What about in a brief? Hold on. What about in a brief? What about in a brief? Like, what if you have all 1,500 names in the document itself? Like, would that meet the specificity standard?
The president has to consent to this. There's a level of specificity required. I think when you're talking about pardons, you can't have a pardon where he has enough information.
You think, in your opinion, that he has to give the
list of the names?
Yes, I do think he has to.
That's all. Okay, great. We can move on. I can ask my actual question. Hold
on, but what about the brief thing? Can I get that clarified too? With a list of names? No. So, like, say we're doing the document, and they go, "Hey, these are a list of 1,500 names that are in the January 6ers." Is that sufficient enough, like the standard, or does he only, or is it only, just to be clear, if he hears them?
That's a question for Pentuple, not me.
That's what I'm asking.
Are you not listening to your partner?
I understand that. Thank you. I'm trying to just get his clarity because I think there's a difference in what he's saying. I want to know if it's both or one. So that's what I'm asking. Yes. Is it only if they only hear it, or would it be in a list count, like where he could read them and he signs it?
The president has to be aware. If it's in a list, I guess you could make the argument that he knows what pardon he's giving out.
If the names of the pardon of the Biden administration were listed on that document, if the names that he pardoned were listed on the document that was signed, you would say that is sufficient evidence for you.
They were listed.
On what? What were they listed on? Okay, yeah, but those were the Autopen pardons. That's
not other than the pardon. We said in a brief. Or other things in a memo, we specify that several times.
So if he mentioned it.
Hang on. Pisco, you admitted and acknowledged. Hang on. You guys acknowledged that the pardons don't even require a writing, right? Because what matters is the consent and intent of the president. That's the point, right?
That's the point.
So when you only have the writing, then no, you don't have this assumed valid pardon when you only have the writing. Because as you said, the writing's not even relevant. What the evidence required for the pardon is not the writing.
Hold on. This is the argument I want to make on top of that. Hold on.
It's the consent of the president. You guys are letting the president get away with it.
Hold on. I want to make something clear here. There's the intent and clarity in the cognitive ability, right? So this is what I'm saying, right? When we look at this, Trump can prove that his intent was to pardon these people. If they need to go get the audio tape and a transcript of him saying, "Get this done," I have no doubt that we can provide that evidence. Somebody can. Right? I don't know who that is. Whether it's a tweet, whether it's him on a speech somewhere, whether he's got memos he's sent out written, I know that can be provided. What we do have on record for Biden is that he was in clear cognitive decline from day one. We have him on record saying he would do the opposite thing of what was done, and I even granted a caveat for his son, but that doesn't even give a caveat when all of his actions previously throughout his life, tough on crime Biden, indicate he would not have done the preemptives. So we have the preemptives. So I have a traditional actions that go against his normal will. I have evidence of his.
You're not challenging Hunter Biden.
Hold on.
Are you challenging Hunter Biden's pardon?
No, I'm not, because I would do that if I was my son. But what I'm saying is,
hold on. The only reason you're not challenging Hunter Biden pardon is because you would do that.
No, there was a wedding signature.
And I think it was a wedding signature. So what I'm saying is, on top. Well, that's also a good point. But here's my point. On top of that is when we have these other pardons, they're not like that. We have executive orders where it's questionable about who signed it because he's not even there. We don't have a paper trail. And when I hold y'all to the standard, y'all go, "Oh, well, would Trump need to meet this standard?" And we go, "Yes," because we think he could provide the audio tapes of him doing it, or the audio tapes of somebody reading them to him, the transcripts of the memo,
anything. It could be anything.
The transcripts of the memos. Like, we can prove the intent, but what y'all can't give me is any proof of intent that Biden wants to do any of these things. And what we have is more questions. Whether he even knew what was going on at all.
First of all, the burden is on you. The burden is on you.
The burden is on you.
The burden's going to be on Adam Schiff. Is who the burden's going to be on? Is Adam Schiff when he gets prosecuted? So you guys can keep dismissing the burden of proof, but you're no help to your client.
I don't.
Schiff's not my client, bro. Shut the fuck up.
No, he's going to be somebody's client making this argument, Pisco, isn't he?
Yeah, we'll get closer to the mic too.
In this debate, you guys. First of all, I don't want to go this route because Gibbs is also slurring. But you know what? I understand.
I always slur.
You are slurring right now. I slur sometimes, and
I disagree.
I think this is
all the time. It's hard for me to talk. Okay, are you really making fun of me for that?
What?
I think it's kind of cheap when you do that. I don't like it. Let's just stick to the issues. I don't know why we can't just stick to the issues. So just to be clear, right? Like
I'll do that.
Gibbs, I think that what.
You just scoffed at us when we suggested that the pardons themselves wouldn't be we were talking about the list of names in front of Biden.
Yeah.
And then you were suggesting that the pardon themselves is proof of the list. But that's after the fact.
No, I didn't say that.
Can you explain why you guys were laughing at that?
No. What we laughed at was the notion that, so you had said something, I think you were approaching a situation whereas if you could show that Trump had read the names, it wouldn't need to necessarily be vocalized. Like if you could show he actually read the names.
It's not about reading the names, though.
What it is,
but that's what I'm saying. We don't have to prove. The court's never going to be say to prove Trump read the names. They're going to say prove Trump had the consent and knowledge of this pardon, and prove that he authorized this pardon.
Yeah,
and that doesn't, like we said, like we both conceded together earlier. The evidence for a pardon is not a written document. What it is the consent and knowledge of the president. That can be reflected on paper, but if it's an autopen, it's not inherently reflected if you don't have anything else.
This is how I would phrase it. What you just said, which is the pardon, the written document that's publicly produced, right? That evinces, that is evidence of the state of mind and also
no, that's after the fact. That is the act. We're talking about proof of. When we're talking about Trump's proof, right? When we're talking about him and the 1,500 names for the pardons, that wouldn't be valid. What we're not talking about is in the actual pardons. We're talking about that list being shown to him so that he understands what he's doing prior to. If somebody just took pardons to Joe Biden and said, hey, we just pardoned these people and used your signature, is that cool? Do you think that's all right? Is that acceptable? You can't even give retroactive consent. This has to be in order.
I agree. I think there needs to be an order. You can't pardon someone and then seek retroactive approval from the president.
That before the act evidence.
I think you probably could get retroactive approval while he's still president if he approved something you've already done.
Nope.
Hang on a second. So, first of all, the OLC memo.
Like I said, you should read the opinion. It'll help guide you if you're on this debate.
The OLC memo is not binding law, just to be clear. And so far, I have seen no.
No, it's not binding law, but it's probably a better take.
The OLC is not. Yes, I just want to be clear. OLC is not binding. There are OLC memos in the past that I've disagreed with, and so far I've been unable to find representations of law that you've made about the OLC memo.
These are the memorandum opinions provided to the President's Council. So this is what the presidents have been expected to operate on.
The reporting that I've seen about the OLC memo, and I have, I agree. I have not read the 2005 OLC memo. What I've seen in reporting is that it purports to say that a wet signature is not required. Any further kind of statements of law, I don't know about.
It's a lot of stuff not relevant,
but let's. I just want to be clear about what we're talking about now, which is. You're saying that it would be improper for someone to bring a list of pardons to the president and say, hey, these are, I'm the head of the pardon office. These are 100 good names, sir. Why don't you sign off on these pardons, on these 100 names? I'll put it in front of you. And the president's like, I don't really have time to look at all these individual cases or even really to read the names. But I trust you, pardon official, and I believe that you want what's best for the American people. And I believe these 100 names deserve pardons because I entrusted that power and investigation into you. And so I'm going to sign these trusting you.
You can argue. You can
hold
argue.
on. You realize what he's argued for, right? So you're okay with an advisor recommending.
Good point, Gibbs.
So you're arguing that you're okay with an advisor, an unelected bureaucrat, advising the president,
and you're even cool with the president
and giving him recommendations and fully entrust him and just sign them. So you're okay with you're okay with Elon Musk. And you're good with Elon Musk. Everything Elon's doing.
Then you're totally right. Assuming that you take issue with Doge and Elon Musk, there is an contradiction.
Yeah, there is.
So there is definitely a
contradiction. Let Pisco explain the contradiction. Let Pisco explain the contradiction.
So there is no contradiction. The notion that it's legal for the president to have advisors doesn't mean that everything that advisors do is legal. You understand that, yes or no, right?
Okay, yeah.
Do you understand that?
Sure.
So I can solve a problem with the legality of what Doge is doing, notwithstanding the fact
what does
that
Doge do?
Yeah, but hold on, that doesn't change the.
Hang on. I want to ask Pisco. I want to see if he knows this. Does Doge fire people? Or do they recommend to the departments to take action?
To this conversation.
No, it's not irrelevant.
It's actually in dispute right now. It's actually in dispute right now, and I'm following a lot of the litigation about what Doge is doing, what they're not doing, what they're purporting to do. So right now, what Doge is presently doing is actively in dispute. It's not the topic of the debate, but to show you that I actually know what Doge is doing and what they were purported to have done, I will now give this to you, even though it's completely irrelevant to what we're talking about. Doge is accessing information from departments. Doge is giving to
the president's authority,
correct? To other agencies, commands for staffing decisions.
But it's all the president's order, correct?
Okay, so
they're advising those departments in the same way that you just suggested in your hypothetical. The president would be advised.
So it's actually alleged that they're doing more than that, right? It's alleged that they're doing more than that. And there have been injunctions now and court orders related to other activities that purport to have the force of law from
Doge.
Doge.
What does it matter?
And
if
Doge
the
is working.
President signed it, like you said.
And just to be clear, even assuming
this is
that
why
what
it's inconsistent.
Even there's no inconsistency whatsoever, right? So
It's so inconsistent.
There is no. What's the inconsistency?
The inconsistency, as Gibbs pointed out, is that you're literally like, oh, the president could just get advice from this council. You don't even have to actually read it. He signs it, and then it's good because it was signed, so it's good. And then you're like, actually, I have issues with these advisory councils.
But yeah, and what's really
there is
crazy
an inconsistency there.
What's really crazy? Hold on. What's really crazy to extend on that, though, just real quick, is that Trump ran on the campaign, and part of those campaign promises to his constituents was establishing something like Doge, right? Cool. So now he goes.
Well, it's not irrelevant. He also promised to make it
all it is.
I didn't say anything about
I will explain this. I will explain this.
Let Gibbs explain. Gibbs, go ahead.
These are campaign policies that he made. They're campaign promises. He comes in and he acts them as policy. So we have one step. We said before the campaign, I want to do this. We have step 2. He gets in office. He goes, I need this executed. He appoints people advisors, and they come in like Doge. They're like, or in the special advisory capabilities, and they come in. They go, hey, I'm going to advise you. Somebody comes in and gives them a list of all the January 6ers because he's already had evidence that he said this. We have this paper trail. We have a visual trail. Yada yada. Now with Biden. On the other side, we have evidence that he has said the opposite. It's not a ramble. I know you don't like the truth. On the other side, we have the evidence that Biden said he wouldn't do one thing, and then he did that thing. We also have evidence from his own staffers that
what's the evidence? Just out of curiosity, Gibbs.
This is verbal diarrhea. So they're accusing me. They've just accused me of inconsistency, right? And
I'm the only one being inconsistent.
They've said something to the effect of. They've said something to the effect of, well, you're inconsistent because you think that advisors can just say whatever they want to the president, and the president, if they go on the basis of that advisors, that it's legally authorized for the president to do what they're doing. So it could be the case that the president can absolutely listen to their advisors pursuant to the president's duties and then, follow their suggestions, and the president could act. But that doesn't mean that everything that the advisors do independent of the president, or things, for example, the president doesn't have authorization to do, that I couldn't still take issue with the conduct of those advisors. Or, by the way, if the advisors, killed someone, that, you thought advisors could do the president. No, it's just because I don't have a problem in principle with the advisors giving advice to the president acting on those orders, doesn't mean that everything those advisors do independently of the president, or let me finish, independently of the president, or pursuant to authorities the president doesn't actually have, or things that are, in and of themselves bad acts that I don't have to agree with on moral reasons, I can't still be critical of those agencies. There's absolutely zero contradiction, and you guys are fucking idiots trying to push down this line.
I have one sentence to answer this. This is what we call mental gymnastics to justify hypocrisy. That's what that is.
Let me ask.
No, stop. What is the issue with what I just said?
All of it is bullshit. It's
to be honest,
bullshit.
I think the reason, I'll admit, it's not the most relevant, Pisco, and it's really not a huge harping point. I just think the reason we challenge it on
say that everything you disagree with is irrelevant. I know.
I agree, it's irrelevant. What did I say that was wrong?
The relevance was that you were suggesting you would be okay with advisors that the president's trusting and not even really listening to. I don't even know if I would go that far. I do think that the president should. I don't think the president should be able to get away with I just signed it, because I know that signing, when you sign something, if you signed it, you signed it. You know what I mean? I get that. But I don't really want to set that bar for the president. You know what I mean? I do want to hold the president to account and say, don't just trust your advisors.
Right? I think that he should. When you say should, meaning it would be my preference that he actually know what he's doing, that he's sufficiently read in on what his advisors are doing. But all I'm talking about is the authorization the president has. If the president is being irresponsible and just not reading into a lot of what his advisors are doing and just willy-nilly signing stuff, I think that person maybe should be impeached. Maybe that person shouldn't be president anymore. But I think that that's legal what he's doing. That is completely separate.
I wouldn't challenge that either.
That is completely separate from my criticisms of Doge, to the extent that they're doing things that they're not authorized to do, to the extent that they're doing something that the president is not authorized to do, or to the extent that they're doing something that are independent wrongs or immoral, even if what they're doing is legal. And so for example, lying. So I think Doge is well within their rights to release public statements.
Like lying about Biden's cognitive ability.
So there's nothing inconsistent about my criticisms of Doge and the notion that I believe in a robust system that allows for presidents to pretty much listen to their advisors, and if they just go by what the advisors say,
you added enough nuance.
Okay. We got a couple things I need to address, right? And we got to keep things a little bit in order. I do have a couple super chats I want to read, right, and make a little money on this, right? But just for point of clarity, did you send me the right document Admiral Gibbs, because the document you sent me was about Biden changing his mind on the Hunter Biden project.
Right. And when this article was written, it was before the other ones, if I believe.
Okay, so what I asked you for, just to be clear.
Hold on, wait.
Stop. Because what I asked you, and you said you had evidence for, was where Biden said he would never pardon Fauci, etc. And I'm looking for that evidence. So send me that evidence.
My claim to clarify was I personally would, this is my claim, this is the claim I made, was one, we already have evidence that he's gone against his word with his son. Now, I am not taking that as sole alone evidence that this is of evidence of greater thing, because I personally would pardon my son. My argument was that we know now that he has gone against things that he said previously in regards to pardons, specifically his son being one of them. It's not hard to go figure, based off his previous actions, as hard on crime Biden, author of the crime bill. We know he doesn't like crime, that suddenly for him, it would be out of character to preemptively pardon, a bunch of people. Okay, cool. So Biden, that's one possibility. But we also have the possibility, and I think bears worth investigation, because we know his cognitive decline, that, hey, maybe we should see if he knew at all what was going on. Because suddenly he's doing things out of character.
Are you sure? Well, are you sure?
My standard is, I think it's high enough a standard that we should investigate. And then if there are issues, then we press charges. My position has been, since the beginning of this debate, that there's enough evidence that something fishy's going on. Let's fucking look into it. And if there is evidence, and there's no examples of paper trails, no examples of audio tape,
you don't think it's been proven that the pardons are invalid? You just said that.
Have I said that? I said I think the whole Biden administration could be invalid.
So you concede
could be invalid. No, I don't concede nothing. Here's what I'm conceding, is that we need to investigate, because a lot of fishy shit's going on.
Okay. I got to read a couple super chats. We only got a couple. Can't get more super chats. But no, thank you for the super chats. You give me $5 from Jeff Lewis to say Biden said he'd preemptively pardon in December and did it in January. There's a December Political article that proves he knew what he was doing. Thank you for the $7.
I mean, that's a great super chat, because it shows, why isn't that evidence demonstrative for you guys? Why isn't that evidence something
that
you
would
consider?
be. We'd have to look at it. We could look at it. I'd be curious what the evidence is.
I mean, I would not say that's enough evidence at that point.
Well, you're just saying Biden said, I'll make some pardons later. That's certainly not specific enough on its own.
So why
especially if he's like high. Plus, what if we have evidence he's drugged up?
Yes.
So why would a memo change your mind?
Because a memo would be more detailed about the specifics he needs to know before you
with
make
something
that
in the
decision.
National Archives.
You're suggesting that the president makes a public statement, they go forge his signature with the Autopen, and they can use that evidence now? That's not how it works.
I'm arguing that, this is what's crazy, is that y'all are so concerned about fascism all the time. I hear it from the left all the time. But when we bring up the idea that a puppet group of people could have been running this by hopping Biden up on amphetamines to give speeches and then not be coherent, I think we should have some coherence and questions. I know, let's go look into it. And you're going, no, hand wave away.
Look into it. That's
fine.
$20 from Alexander Wren. Regarding pardons, if someone were to have included the wrong name on accident, and the document was signed by the president's hand and processed by the Office of Pardon Attorney, do you think that can be revoked months later?
Who's the question? To everyone?
Could be.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think that if you have sufficient knowledge that the president is aware that this pardon is a document that contains a list of names, and that he signs the pardon, and I think it's possible to accidentally pardon someone. Yes, I think that is a concept that is possible. Yeah.
What? You can't. That's legally wrong.
What do you mean
that is insane to say.
Wow.
That is insane to say. When the one thing we both conceded for evidence of a pardon is the president's knowledge and consent, and even specific consent, and then you say you can accidentally pardon someone. That is insane. Yes. That is legally insane.
I think you just don't really understand
beyond mind-blowing. How did you say that just now? You can accidentally pardon someone when the evidence required is knowledge and consent.
I stand by. So knowledge and consent of what, though? Knowledge and consent
of the actual facts.
Wait, what do you mean the actual facts? Let's interrogate a little bit, because now you seem a little more shaky. So,
dude, you're literally suggesting that if somebody held up a paper underneath something else and said, "Sign this, it's about this thing," and then the president signs it, and they fooled them, they got him, they got away with it.
Whoa!
Like a typo
that
or
was so out of bounds. That is not the comparison. The question: someone purports and says, "This is a list of pardons. This is a list of people that are in these pardons, and these people, these are all people who were unjustifiably imprisoned and that were shown to be exonerated, and by accident, right? There's a scrivener's error, and the person from the pardon office included someone on that list and just didn't do their due diligence, and it was a similar name, right? But the president knows that's a pardon. The president knows there's a list of names there. The president even sees all the names on there, and the president says, well, I'm going to trust your judgment, and all these names I'm going to pardon. Boop, 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 boop. It's a specific pardon. It applies to people, but it was done with bad advice. And you're saying that doesn't have the force of law because he needs to know the circumstances of each individual?
And in that case, you would argue that he had knowing and consent of that pardon. Well, even though it was errant, he had knowledge and consent of the pardon, making it valid.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. But apply accidental?
Yeah,
that's
but
accidental,
I don't know that it's accidental. I mean, there would be real serious questions if that happened. I think that at this level of government, we do expect a little bit more than fucking mistakes like that.
Correct me if I'm wrong here on this, but let's be real here. There is checks and balances for that type of stuff. That's the point. It doesn't mean they had no fucking clue.
What checks and balances on the executive in that situation?
But here's the question: do you agree
There's
that
no checks and balances on the pardoning?
Do you agree that valid pardon
I would agree.
would be accidental?
In that hypothetical,
yes or no?
I mean, it depends, but yeah, it could be. Yes.
Okay, so then when you just ridiculed me, when you were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you thought this was an
because you're
accidental
suggesting
you also
that
agree with that, right? So you also agree with that, right?
No, I ridiculed you for suggesting that the president could accidentally pardon someone without knowledge and consent.
But you just agree with that.
They have to
you
know
just
and
agreed that
consent.
he could.
You shifted the goals to he accidentally pardon someone. Yeah. I guess you can
based on wrong info, based on
consent. But then there would be perhaps questions. You could challenge that sort of pardon. Be like, this person got a pardon. It was a misspelling. It was supposed to go to this person, and now it's applied to this person. That doesn't work like that.
What if someone was like, "Oh, this is"?
I don't even know how this fact pattern works.
I would assume that would not be a valid pardon. I think we can all probably agree.
Really?
If you put absolutely. Like if
it could be invalidated, but it wouldn't be invalidated under the theory of knowledge and consent that we're arguing right now. It would be argued under some other fraud or mistake or some sort of other theory. The question that we have here with the Autopens is that the pardons require intent, knowledge, and consent of the president. The Autopen
and the ability
papers cannot be inherently proof of that.
To do the pardoning act, not to know the metes and bounds of every specific pardon. The intent and conscious.
What's the opinion? I'll just say it again. Read it, and then maybe we can do this debate again when you've actually educated yourself on the law enough to have the debate.
Just to be clear, you based on that opinion, your conclusion was that the president needs to have heard
that opinion directly says that the president has to be aware, have knowledge and consent of every single instance use of the signature. Not even just pardons. Every single time his signature is used, he needs to be aware.
Very different of the signature,
not different,
or of of the signature or of the specific person being pardoned. Which?
What does that matter?
It matters.
Why is that your question?
Actually. Well,
no, it doesn't. Because what the opinion is about the president cannot delegate agency through the Autopen. He has to sign it off. What does the president's signature mean if not the president's intent and consent?
So with respect to the signature, not with respect to every name in the pardon, fair?
That's a different. We're doing multiple analysis here. I'm sure you can follow, but yeah, you have to have a knowledge and consent to give out a pardon. That requires some level of information. That is too vague to say everyone associated with January 6th would be too vague based on the legal opinions.
I'm being more specific than that. Is the level of knowledge required the specific names of everyone being pardoned?
Well, the opinion is about presidential signatures, which can be used for executive orders, can be used for pardons. This level of proof is like.
So what if the president did the following?
What if
the president did the following? Everyone who's involved in the insurrectionist activities of the Civil War, you are all pardoned.
That wouldn't alone be enough to pardon them. No, they'd have to have a more specific.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when the pardons actually took place, they would have had to have. Yeah, like what they definitely did. If they like, what are you saying?
Hold on.
You're saying that the pardons were just by declaring
let Pisco.
The blanket amnesty is an established legal principle dating back thousands of years in legal principle for military.
Or, for example, when Ronald Reagan made a blanket pardon for all illegal immigrants who were in the country in 1980.
Sure,
right?
I'm not even arguing this.
Here's the question.
If that's fine.
Here is the question. So, if imagine that a president after the Civil War in the 1800s were to say something like this: we are giving unconditional pardons to everyone above the everyone below the rank of colonel or civilians who were involved in any kind of activities related to the Confederacy and the insurrection against the United States. You'd say that a pardon of Confederacy, that would be invalid.
Would I say that? No, I would say it based on
pardons...
military legal theory that's existed for thousands of years, and that we follow as a country. That's international law, it's historical law. I would say that it's a pretty established principle that would be something standard and expectancy of a gracious army winning, and or conquering a country.
Pardons require intent and consent of the president. That cannot be delegated. So what you're asking me is where do we specifically define this line of specificity required? I think a safe way to maybe understand this would be that the president has to have enough information that he couldn't learn new information after that would change his mind. So maybe you can argue that there's enough information if he says, oh, all the January 6 people are pardoned. I disagree. I think that there probably is a little bit more specificity to suggest knowledge and consent of the president on each of these cases, because each pardon is an individual case. But then again,
when President Johnson actually issued a sweeping pardon for Confederacy that numbered in the thousands, do you think because he didn't hear all the names of the Confederate soldiers?
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You have to have consent and knowledge, and you have to have a minimum burden of knowledge.
So it's not based off the same legal theories,
so
bro.
When President Andrew Johnson...
How are you failing to understand the basic legal principle that the president has to have knowledge and consent? The burden of proof of that...
When President Andrew Johnson pardoned, sweeping pardons for thousands and thousands of Confederate soldiers and officials, you think that he had to have been read the names of all those thousands of Confederate soldiers? Otherwise,
it depends how you argue. It depends how you argue in line with the OLC opinion I'm talking about, how much information. I'm saying it can't be too vague. We know that it can't be too vague. I don't know if it has to be like it certainly doesn't have to be that he memorizes all of the names, correct? So he has to. I'm not walking back. I'm trying to explain to you that the issue here is the intent and consent of the president. That does not delegate it. So if you're delegating this to someone where there's not enough information for you to have knowledge and consent, then you can't do it, because you have to have knowledge and consent of the president. How that is measured is case by case. The answer is it depends. I'm sure you've heard that many times. That's why all these hypotheticals are changing every time you give nuance. The point is that the president has to give consent. The president's consent has to be knowledgeable, and it cannot be delegated to someone else who is an advisor.
He has to be able to make the consent.
Yeah, how can I
wait, does he need to know the names or not?
I'm telling you, there is a level of specificity required. Perhaps that level of specificity is met in that case in another way by saying he knows enough of that. No, because we're talking about a Civil War pardon 100 years later. This is totally different. There's other variables involved.
And that's already established in legal theory by a different precedent than what we are talking about now.
I'm the only one referencing law here.
So the answer is, if you're saying there could be another way to get to that specificity, which, by the way, I agree with. I think there's another way you get to that specificity.
That's the legal standard.
Then the answer would be, it's not necessary to know the names. Because there are other ways to get to that level of
perhaps specificity. Not, but I would argue that in cases like January 6th, yes, perhaps not in the Civil War case.
Okay,
but
okay.
I still could argue for either side.
Special pleading for Confederates.
I could easily argue that for both sides. That's not the point.
Here's the issue: is they don't even know who all the Confederates were. There's not like there was record keeping for mom and pop that were fighting the Confederacy and whatever. The whole. So this is my point. Is I know it's a good point, and here's the thing: is that you are being real weaselly here and trying to apply both of these things to the same standard when one has been established by thousands of years of legal precedent across multiple nations, and the U.S. military and the U.S. government follows that precedent in regards to conquering nations and conquering armies. Thank you, Rita. I understand. Just like English law, old English law is the precedent established American law. It's real simple.
That's how it is. Years. The common law, starting with the Magna Carta.
And yes, hold on. But blanket amnesty as a concept, when if you conquer another people, is something that has been established for thousands of years since goddamn the ancient Greeks. It is absolutely relevant. So when you're going to sit here and go, this is the same as the January 6ers, you're on somebody like bullshit and you're being dishonest, because once again, the standard Pentuple and I are promoting are, hey, we will go and grant you this, but as long as there's some evidence,
unless you're Trump, then you don't need the names.
There's evidence that they were involved in this, they were cognitively aware of this, able to give consent, and we have a paper trail showing this of somewhere, whether that's transcripts, whether that's recordings, whatever. But when you go, hey, let's hold Biden to that standard, you go, Lordy, I want to be afraid. I don't want Biden to know. We don't need nobody to know about Biden.
Here's the order we're going to go in. Here's the order. Stop. Here's the order we're going to go in. Okay. I'm going to read these super chats. I'm going to give it to Nina because Nina needs a chance. Going to give her the mic and have her say, right? And that's what we're going to do. And then we are it's getting to time, gang. And so after Nina goes and we have the back and forth, we're going to go to closings. That's the order we're going to go in. So $10 from Vish A to say, POTUS tells Bob to autopen pardon on a memo. Memo is then shredded and pardon is autopenned. There is now no proof of approval other than the word of mouth. Is the pardon valid or invalid if challenged? Does the word of a mouth of a staffer count as evidence? In other words,
if they're willing to testify, perhaps, yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. So we
At
do
least
have
evidence to start looking at.
Then we do have evidence.
They're willing to testify under
right?
oath, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, then we do have evidence, right? That Biden signed these things.
Did they testify under oath?
I'm not sure, but I'm sure they'd.
Well, until they testify under oath, I'm not going to necessarily just give them credibility.
I don't think you. Here's the thing.
Right?
I don't think you would, even if they did.
You would never apply the standard to the other side, you motherfucker.
Why would you come to the conclusion?
Absolutely, I've been consistent applying the standard. I'm just saying because some anonymous staffer came forward, I have to believe them because I hate Trump, right? That makes sense.
If you're saying that, hey,
here's what I'm saying. Autopen requires the intent and consent of the president. It does not reflect the intent.
I do have one more super chat, but Pisco.
You guys have lost this debate.
What?
Bro. So just to be clear, you're shifting standards.
You lost on every legal principle you are actually wrong on, and then the actual overall debate you lost. Because your argument is that the Autopen requires intent and consent of the president. Okay. Autopen requires intent and consent of the president.
Everything
it is not reflective of. It is not reflective of the intent and
not just
consent of the
Autopen,
president.
right?
That's your argument.
Literally everything.
Wait, not just Autopen, right? Every pardon requires knowledge and intent. Agreed?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yes.
So when you say Autopen requires knowledge and intent, you're being way too narrow, right? Everything requires it.
No.
Fair?
Yeah.
Why are you not being more narrow? And now that gets to Nina's point.
That's why the point is that Autopen alone is not sufficient evidence.
Nina's point that gets to Nina's point at the beginning, which it seemed to be the case that you said that we're not doing special rules for Autopens, but now it actually does seem like you're having special rules for Autopen where there's something more specific about the Autopen.
Well, okay, you can understand how a wet ink signature is slightly different than an Autopen because the Autopen has the potential for forgery, whereas a wet ink signature cannot be forged by its own signer.
If you think signatures can't be forged,
do you understand that? Does that make sense?
When you say, can I ask this? When we say wedding signature, are we talking about a signature on a wedding document?
No, not a wedding. Okay, no. It's not a wedding document. It's
this is a completely different thing. Okay, so I just okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I was
do you think a wedding signature be? Can a wet ink signature be forged? Yes or no?
A wet ink.
Can a wet ink signature be forged by the signer themselves? Can you forge your own signature? Is what I'm asking. Can the president forge his own signature in wet ink? No, of course not. But can a
staffer forge his signature in wet ink?
Is that a distinction worth recognizing?
Can a staffer forge a wet ink signature? That's the question.
Well, yeah, that's the Autopen. That is the Autopen.
Yes, that's also possible.
No,
both would be fraud. Yes, both would be fraud.
Wait. So you said before a wet ink signature could not be forged. That's not true.
Cannot be forged by the person signing it. Cannot be forged by the person signing it.
Neither can an Autopen by the person.
No, that's not true.
Yes, an Autopen can be forged by. It is literally forged by definition. Is forged. It is literally not a criminal act forgery, but is literally forging the signature of the president to affix in a legal manner.
We're talking about a situation in which someone other than the president, I assume if the president's just signing something, that
nobody wet inks this. Okay. The Autopen.
You know what I'm getting at, bro. Come on. So if someone other than the president has a wet ink, they can try to forge a signature. Fair?
Yes, that would also be fraud and illegal.
Okay, so then
what is the point then?
What if they use the Autopen?
There is a distinction between when a pen is used by the signer. If Joe Biden signed it, there's no dispute that Joe Biden signed this. He's signed it in wet ink. That is his signature.
There's Autopen. We want evidence that there was intent for this to be done.
Is not inherently done by him.
It's not inherently.
There is a distinction. How are you pretending you can't understand the difference? You can't forge your own signature, and the Autopen can be forged. How is that confusing?
What do you mean forged?
You were just making the point that hang on. You were just making the point that you can't trick the president because you were agreeing that the wet ink signature is inherently valid. You just argued that. You just argued that, Pisco.
No. I didn't argue it, and you're
yes, you did.
Confused.
You just argued that the president could be tricked. You just argued it because you can't forge your wet signature.
So you
did argue that. You're like, oh, what if
you just lost?
My signature is so wet right now, gang. So wet.
He said, let me put an accidental guy on there. That's exactly what. Yeah, that's exactly the argument.
Wait a second.
You just.
Okay.
Congratulations, buddy.
Okay. Enough of this.
The wedding
just
signature.
yourself on
He
top.
literally admitted the wedding signature can be tricked because it's a wet ink signature. That means it can't be forged. That's literally you agreeing with me.
No one understands.
I love when lefties talk
because
talk because they are best speakers for conservatives are the lefties themselves.
Let's be clear about something. What we're talking about is a situation in which someone other than the president is purporting to sign documents. Okay,
that's inherent with Autopen.
So it is. Wait.
But you said
why would the president use his own Autopen?
You said at the beginning that wasn't
Hold
what
on, your hand gets tired, bro.
Use his own Autopen. Why? Can you tell me?
Why? Okay, no, hold on, Penta, stop, shut up, Pisco. Pentuple, can you not think of a reason? Can you not think of a reason why someone who is stop? Oh my God, stop! All of you. Someone who is signing. You just said something so fucking stupid. 1,500 signatures. You can't understand why someone would want to use a mechanical assist to send that. So you would understand.
So thank you for saying that.
Okay, Wick, hang on, Wick, please. You're not suggesting that the president presses the button on the Autopen. You're certainly not doing that, right?
Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
Biden tinkering with the little box? It'd be so cute.
Wait a second. Are you denying that presidents have used the Autopen before?
No, and I have no problem with it. If you followed me at all, you'd understand I have no problem with the Autopen. Nina's mind blown because she hasn't followed it all this whole time.
You just spurred doubt. So just be clear. Presidents have used the Autopen. Fair?
Yes. Okay,
so
with clear directives to the people to use it, clearly showing their intent and knowledge of its use.
You are adorable at cooking yourself on your own arguments.
You're literally making my argument and you have no idea.
You're making my argument and you have no idea.
Nina, you have no idea what we're arguing at all. You haven't had any idea this whole panel what we're arguing.
Yeah, I know, you hate me or whatever.
What we're talking about is a situation in which someone other than the president is either using an Autopen or signing something. And your point is that there's some substantive difference between how we should sort of prima facie treat an Autopen signature versus a wet ink signature. And
because
my question for you is, what is that basis?
That basis is that you cannot forge your own signature. Joe Biden's wet ink signature is self-authenticating. It is his knowledge and consent is inherent because he did it.
Wait a second.
You don't know that he did it when it's Autopen. You need something to show that consent.
Wait, blue guy,
and it's not the card in itself that shows that consent.
Is it the case that the Autopen signature on Joe Biden's pardons, are those documents self-authenticating, yes or no, under the Federal Rules of Evidence?
They can be. They would be self-authenticating. If they weren't challenged and the court came in without this challenge.
Whoa, you just said both a wet ink signature.
The signature is not self-authenticating. If you're challenging the signature, it's not. If you're challenging the pardon, it is. It is. Yes, you can auto-pardon the signature. You understand the difference between different issues. You're asking me two different issues, and when I give you two different answers, you're confused.
What is authentication? The
authentication would be that he gave knowledge and consent. That is how you prove it.
No, sorry. What is authentication?
In what context? What are you asking me?
In the evidentiary context, the context you brought it up, right, dumbass?
Okay, so, dude, you've been.
You know what authentication is? Yes or no?
Wrong. So I wouldn't be pulling that card.
Yes or no?
Oh, so you don't know.
Do you know what it is?
What you're talking about authentication? A pardon would be self-authenticating. You're right.
No, but not if you what authentication is.
What do you mean? It's when
tell us so we can compare it.
Are you talking about a federal
Black's Law Dictionary?
It's what allows evidence to come in.
As an evidentiary, in the evidentiary context, what does authentication mean?
It means that the document is valid and is legitimate. Yes.
Is that what you think authentication is?
What's your explanation?
Authentication is that the document is what it purports to be. Okay, that
that would be what I said. Legitimate and valid. Would that not be pretty close?
No, because
there's particular
oh,
wording.
really? It's not close. It's not. I'm sure for you guys right now, I don't want to admit that it's close.
It actually is broader. It actually is too. It's too broad. It's far too broad. So
I was in the right direction. All right. I think we're making the point.
So, for example, when you're putting forth an evidence, an email, you would get someone on the stand and say, "Is this an email? Yes. Is this fairly reflect what was actually sent? Yes. That is a person on the stand authenticating that email and this email is what it purports.
The fact that you don't even have this authentication for the pardons is damaging. Because what is it? Show it.
So it is
what Biden signed off on this.
So the pardon. So just to be clear, you agree that the pardon, either with the Autopen or without the Autopen, is self-authenticating under the federal rules of evidence, yes or no?
Challenged, if the pardon is not being challenged,
that's not true.
Issue is not the signature on
we're
the
going
pardon,
in circles.
Yes.
Okay, we're going in circles. We're going in circles, and we're running out of time. We're going in circles, and we're running out of time.
Pisco?
And I do have to make a little money and give it to Nina. This is what we're going to do.
$10
for Alexander Wren. Hold on, stop. $10 from Alexander Wren to say, by the regards of Gibbs, and I'm just going to read these, and then we're going to give it to Nina. By the regards of Gibbs, a president may at any time claim he didn't know someone was on the pardon and have it revoked. How utterly ridiculous. And then $5. What if someone else signs as Joe? Thank you for the $5 from Vish A. And then
wait, so I think that would actually be legitimate. So if someone with the authorization of Joe Biden, right? Let's say with Joe says you can wet ink my signature, and he authorizes someone to wet ink his signature. I believe that would be valid. Do you guys?
Sure. Let's give it to Nina though. Nina,
wait. Let's get an answer. Yes or no?
I don't know. It sounds like
the
Autopen.
What do you mean you don't know? What do you mean you don't know?
What I mean is that I've been saying this entire time. The issue here is that the president's signature reflects his knowledge and consent. You cannot delegate this away. You cannot give it to somebody else. It reflects the president's knowledge and consent. If you don't have the president's knowledge and consent, you can't use the Autopen for it.
The OLC memo says that you
literally
can't. Wait, the OLC memo, as reported and as I read it in the
says that the president can delegate his signature to someone else to use on whatever they want.
No. That's
as an agent.
It
explicitly says the opposite of what you guys are arguing.
No, he can delegate. He can authorize.
I'll post this on my Twitter if anyone wants to read it after the debate, so they actually know what the real law is.
He can authorize. Bro, you are so fucking triggered that you got caught out on the name thing. I mean, it's embarrassing.
I've been getting you on every single legal concept you've tried to bring up tonight. I've called you out and you know it.
It's working really well.
GG no reads, bro.
Okay.
I would not post this on your Twitter. I think it's pretty embarrassing.
Dude, this is going all over my shit. You laid factually wrong legal claims. I'll clip those for sure.
Name one.
When you said that when you were talking about the president being able to mistakenly sign something, you conceded there one of your arguments, right?
No. You agree. Wait. I said there is a notion of an accidental pardon in the sense that you could.
And you also you were wrong when you said that there was no specificity needed. You said the president could delegate the pen.
Wait, come on.
You were wrong about that legally. I'll clip it.
Both of you, stop. I will stop you. Pisco, stop. I'll stop you both. I've been trying to get the mic to fucking Nina because Nina's sitting here trying to get in, and you guys are both going at it, right? Which is fine. It's fun. But Nina needs a chance to have the mic, so we're going to get the mic to Nina. I understand you guys disagree on this. You guys are both disagreeing on this. Nina, you have the mic. Go for it.
Again, we're a little bit in the legal minutia that, I am not a lawyer myself. I know Pisco is, so I do like to give him the mic with that, generally speaking. But I also know Blue Guy is somebody who does not. He didn't say he was a lawyer, or I'm not aware of his background. He is a lawyer? Oh, okay. Well, then I'm kind of out of my depth when it comes to that, but it does seem like he's kind of a piece of shit when it comes to at all, like, hearing anything from other people, so I don't really understand why he even wants to do debates. But, we love that for them. I didn't really have anything to jump in right there. So I know you're trying to give me the... But my notes are from, like...
It's your time to shine. Say whatever you like. Go ahead.
I know. I'm fumbling. It's been a while since I've done debates. Okay, so I'm sorry I don't have more to say here.
I think we are.
Are we doing closing? Are we doing closing?
Okay, I thought it. We are now.
Oh, I'm
you didn't
sorry,
have much to say. So what we're gonna do? It's 8:00, and gang.
If we're doing closing, I can do closing. I thought you wanted me to.
I promise. I'll give you the mic back.
Gotcha.
Just let me close it out, gang. I don't know if this has been productive. or fun or
I thought it
interesting
was. I
even.
think there was
But
a
here
lot
we
of-
are.
a lot of
Stop.
that.
Let me do my show. So, gang, if you've enjoyed this shit, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I don't know why you would, but whatever. We have some great shows coming up. On Thursday, we're going to have Claire Lemon of the founder of Quillette coming on, and she's going to be joining us as well as Tracing Woodgrains, moderate centrist guy. We're also going to be joined by Renee. Am I saying this right? Renee DiResta, CIA Renee, okay, who was one of the people on the Twitter files, right? And that should be a fun discussion. We're going to be discussing how can Democrats win? What can Democrats do to actually reverse the abysmal poll numbers that have been published about them? And it should be a fun discussion. On Wednesday, we're going to talk about MAGA. We're going to talk about Democrats as well, with a whole host of people, including the Soy Pill, New York Shade, J-Mac, a few others. They'll be on there. And yeah, it should be fun. I want to first give the mic to Gibbs, and then we're going to go along the line, and Pisco will have the last word. So Gibbs, closing statements. Tell people where to find
Thank you so much. Well, I just for funsies, I want to bring out the Black's Law Dictionary again in my closing here. Authentication. I can't even talk. Don't worry. The slurred word I tried to just butcher out there. Authentication. Broadly, the act of proving that something as a document is true or genuine, especially so if it may be admitted as evidence. The condition of being so proved. What I'm asking for, and I'm willing to concede the standard for Trump, for every president going forward, is proof of their cognitive ability. Proof that they ordered something, whether that's a transcript, whether it's an audio file, whether it's whatever, and it was in line with their intent, and it wasn't some shadow guy doing this in their name while they're taking advantage of a puppet government in place. If you like what I had to say, what Penn had to say, we're going to be on a panel next on Prime. So go check out Prime. We're going to be debating DEI, I believe. And this week, we got 2 panels on Thursday. It's going to be fun back-to-back, 5 o'clock and 7:30, and then on Wednesday, an all-female panel, because Gibbs is a feminist, and we're having our weekly Wicked Wednesday outnumbered segment, because I want to give, as a true conservative and a true feminist, a place for women to talk. Thank you so much for having me. I love coming on. It's the best. And thank you for everybody else.
Check him out. I have every one of these people's socials listed in my YouTube description. You can click on that and you can find them. Nina, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of silly that we big criticism from my detractor or interlocutors here were that we weren't talking about the Autopen, and then we are talking about the Autopen, and then we're not talking about the Autopen, and then we are talking about the Autopen. It seems like really telling lack of consistency within their ideology, and that maybe that's a good thing with the lawyer to just always want to win. But I think within the context of this argument, they were being very fucking weaselly as fuck with this shit, and it didn't seem consistent at all. Being that was the main thing that they were concerned about. I think that I will admit I am out of my depth when it comes to a lot of legal stuff, because I'm not a lawyer. I am not a lawyer, and if my tractor blue guy here is a lawyer himself, then sure. But he would have more experience than I do. However, I just don't think that he really had any good arguments here. I think Pisco did a very good job, because he is the lawyer here, dismantling those arguments that he tried to make, and kept going back and forth on this, because he knew he had a bad argument, so he just tried to be as Weasley as possible to try and win. Which it didn't.
Where can people find
no better time for
I think
me
he
to
got blown
explain
the fuck out.
exactly how you missed the point. You guys are using the Autopen as proof of Biden's knowledge and intent. When we're suggesting
we are talking about the Autopen.
Okay. Yeah, we're talking about the Autopen because that's your guys' evidence towards Biden's proof of intent. That's what you guys are claiming is proof of the pardons. We're suggesting that you actually need the president's knowledge and consent. That is not inherent with the Autopen because he didn't sign it. It could have been forged, and that door is open. And it's simply as that. The Autopen requires the intent and consent of the president. It is not reflective of that intent and consent. It's as simple as that. The fact that you guys have no proof that Biden had ever indicated or consented to these pardons will come up when Adam Schiff is charged in the fall, and I can't wait to see how it goes down.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. Links to his stuff is in my YouTube description. Last but certainly not least, Pisco.
Was an embarrassing performance by our interlocutors. To start with the burden shifting, obviously the burden is on the people asserting the claim of an invalid pardon to bring that to bear. In the case of
just ignore that.
In the case of applying the standards that they are setting forth, for example, something ridiculous as specific knowledge of each individual, right? They would never apply the burden that, well, someone needs to show that Trump specifically heard the name with respect to the January 6th pardon, maybe in part because they realize that Trump did not ever hear that. And there's actually reporting of him saying, fuck it, pardon them all, and doing it carte blanche and saying it in a general way. Obviously, there's also proof of Andrew Johnson pardoning thousands and thousands of Confederates. There's no way that he stopped by and heard every specific one, every individual. But of course, they would never shift the burden that way when it was Confederates. They're special pleading for Trump, and they're special pleading for Confederates. And frankly, they're special pleading for Joe Biden because they just don't like him. The burden of proof is on them to adduce some evidence to show that he is so mentally incapable that he can't, sign agreements or acknowledge something or affirm something. The standard for showing that of individuals is quite high. And I didn't hear, I think Gibbs started to say that there's enough evidence to show that Biden is mentally incompetent. But the blue guy certainly didn't go that far. And when I pushed Gibbs on that a little bit, he said, well, we need to have an investigation. Well, if it's a foregone conclusion that Biden is mentally unfit or that these pardons are invalid, what will be the purpose of the investigation? A memorandum doesn't definitively show that Biden did this. I mean, what if the memorandum were forged? A wet ink signature, how do you know that wasn't forged? How do you know that? So everything with respect to the evidence that they say would be conclusive, even in one instance, the blue guy said, well, if he tweeted about it, and then immediately backtracked because he realized how fucking stupid that sounded, because obviously I actually don't think that Joe Biden is in charge of his Twitter account, and that he probably says, tweet something about this, if he even does that. And in some cases, he probably just delegates to a staffer to control the Biden Twitter account. No, the prima facie evidence that the pardon is valid is the fact that it was published and authorized by the office. And the burden's going to be on you to show that didn't happen or that for some reason it's defunct. And you haven't produced evidence. The evidence that Gibbs produced was one comment by Mike Johnson about a specific executive order. But just because one executive, even assuming Mike Johnson is correct that Biden said this about one executive order, doesn't mean that everything that Biden did he wasn't aware of. And you can't apply that generally. Or other kind of statements generally about Biden's declining mental, cognitive activity. But that by itself doesn't show that his mental capabilities are so far gone that he can't even authorize an agreement, right? Like even people who are on the verge of dementia, they can sign over certain agreements and in the right context. So yeah, I mean, there's just no evidence whatsoever that they can produce, and the burden is on them to show that these are invalid, inauthentic signatures, and just in general, a bunch of nonsense and stupidity, like saying Black's Law Dictionary is binding law on everybody, and then signing the OLC memo as though the memo is saying that you need to have this kind of, specific knowledge or specific specificity with the granularity of knowing the specific names. I agree that pardons need to be sufficiently specific so that courts can interpret them. Right now, there's litigation happening with respect to certain pardons about whether they cover this or that, and the courts will work that out. But it is not required that we have this kind of granularity that they're implying. And if it were that case, I think, as Nina suggested, we would be second guessing every single thing the Trump administration is doing, every executive action, all those pardons, and that kind of standard isn't workable. And it's not one that we've ever implied. Trump just said this out of his ass because of what the blue guy said at the end there. He wants to go after his political opponents. He's an authoritarian, and he wants to, claim that he has these supreme authorities and be able to attack people that he dislikes or that are his political opponents, as has been his want throughout the entirety of his political life.
Okay. Thank you for being here, Pisco. Again, links to all these people's descriptions. Yeah, we're going to leave now. We're going to rate it in Prime Guy. Bye-bye, everyone.
Much love.
Bye-bye. Thank you for coming, all of you. I love you all. Bye.
Peace.
Also, I like the jacket, Nina.
Thank you. I like your jacket as well. Did you steal it from my house?
I listen. Good tell.
I hated it. I hated it, gang. I hated all of it. Every single second. It was so bad. They don't can people not be adults, right? Can people not be fucking grown-ups in these conversations? I don't understand, right? I had to mute people several times, and I don't like muting people. I had to do it like 5 times today. Gross. Okay. Might have call-ins tomorrow. Might talk about Hegseth tomorrow. Hegseth. We talked about it earlier. If you want to see my takes on Hegseth, rewind the VOD. It's at the beginning. I love you all. Bye-bye. Why don't I mute? I muted several times, Mitsu. That's the thing. I muted a lot more than I normally do. I don't understand the complaint. But see ya.